Welcome back to His and Hers Movie Podcast, aka Double HMP. I am JP, your host, and joining me as always is Carly, my co-host. So Carly, welcome back to His and Hers Movie Podcast.
Yeah, welcome back to you too. We are doing The Thing, and I'm happy to be here.
What is The Thing?
We're just like doing the damn thing, like we're doing pods.
Oh yeah, we are doing the damn thing. So
yeah,
episode 3 weeks in a row. That's extending the record of 2 weeks, which we had last week.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna do The Turning this week, but silly me, I totally didn't realize there was a gap in January where there wasn't a horror movie coming out 1 week, and that is this week.
Yeah.
So we will be doing The Turning next week. So for this episode, we had sort of discussed last episode that we had seen some movies in the theater, including Misery. And I told you, or you told me rather, that we should discuss that. We should discuss our history of seeing retro movies in the theater and or drive-in.
Yeah, and it was going to be like a little side thing we would do for a show, but I kind of thought about it and I just thought, we've seen like a million films at this point, so we could totally make a full episode out of it to kind of talk about our experiences and where we saw them and what we thought of them, because there's some movies we'd never seen before, and then there's some that are obviously classics, so I thought that would be fun and a good way to kind of fill this little gap we have going on here.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea. It's something a little bit different. It's not a movie review. It's actually a trip down memory lane, which is kind of what we did in the very first episode, where we sort of talked about how we got into horror, and I believe I mentioned some of those experiences as well. But yeah, it's something that is pretty cool, honestly, that I didn't realize how many movies... some non-horror, but mostly horror movies that weren't from modern times, or, weren't current movies, were retro movies that I had seen in the theater or drive-in. It's kind of an impressive list, and for the most part, we've seen all of them together. There are a few that, we saw separately, which we'll get into, but overall, I think it's a cool main topic of the show.
Yeah, we have seen way more than I had thought. Like, I knew we saw a lot, but, I mean, it's crazy. Like, we actually have almost hit 100 movies here, and before meeting JP, I had never gone to see any retro films in the theater other than Titanic. I went to see that when I was, like, in high school with my mom and some of my girlfriends, and, we just cried to Titanic. But besides that, I had never seen anything, so it's pretty awesome. One of my favorite things that we do, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we also, not only have we seen all of these, but we actually have more coming up. We actually have 2 scheduled for February already, which is pretty fun. It's, an honor really to be able to do this, because a lot of places don't have anything like this. So I do appreciate where we live, and even stuff that's a few hours away, sometimes we manage to get to, which is pretty cool. There's a decent amount of options, because Pennsylvania seems to have a lot of these type of things, and then other, even I see stuff like this in Ohio and New York and stuff too, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I often see whenever we post about it, people being like, oh man, there's literally nothing around here like this, and I think like, oh, we kind of take that for granted quite a bit.
I think so. And I'm very, this actually, I would be extremely disappointed if we didn't have stuff like this. If it just went away all of a sudden, it would be very depressing.
Me too.
So, before we get into that, though, let's discuss our week. So, what's going on new with you? Like, how was your week? What did you do?
Pretty, decent week. Once again, pretty laid back week. I recorded, I think since we were last on, recorded with Derek or I think I brought that up. Or no, I don't think I had recorded it yet. But we did do a Bronx Tale, and that went pretty well. I hosted that episode and kind of did the rundown when he's usually the one to do it, and that was fun experience, fun movie to talk about. And other than that, I pretty much have just been, watching movies again, just random stuff, and also playing a little bit of video games again. Austin, Mr. Austin, for those who don't know, from
Is he
Woodsboro Bros
related to
podcast.
Mr. Watson?
No, not quite. But, he's from Woodsboro Bros podcast and my other podcast, the Movie versus Movie podcast. And, he's also a friend of ours in real life that we met. He got me Resident Evil 4 for Christmas, and I've been kind of playing through that. I'm not that far into it, but, I spent like 2 hours the other night kind of playing it and really, really enjoying that. Video games, especially survival games, are something I've been trying to play and get back into. I'm not much of a video game person, but when I do play them, I get pretty into them and have a fun time. So that's been fun. And
what have you been playing?
As I just said, Resident Evil 4.
Okay, how's that been going?
Well, it's been going well, buddy. I just said all that.
Yeah, but what do you you're not going to talk about it?
Well, I mean, what do I talk about? It's a game, and I've been playing it, and I'm only to there's a part with this giant, and that's when I quit last, because I was pretty much when I get to a part that seems like it's going to be really difficult, and I've been playing for a while and I'm getting tired, that's kind of when I call it quits for a while. And but yeah, the only issue I have with it is kind of the controls are a little bit, I don't know, just the point of view, I guess, is a little off. I just played Resident Evil 7 too, not too long ago, and that one obviously came out, I believe Austin told me it was 13 years after part 4, so that one's more updated, and this one, it looks fantastic, I will say, because sometimes old video games don't hold up with the way they look, and it's hard to really get into them, but this one looks good. The controls are just taking a little while to get used to, but other than that, I actually think it's a bit easier than part 7 was, and my method is to pretty much just run through past the bad guys and not even try to shoot them. Dude, you're not supposed to use up all your ammo in those games anyway, so I don't know what you're about.
I kill everyone. I just kill
that's
everything.
Stupid.
No, it's not, because if you know how to play correctly, you'll be decent on ammo. I like Resident Evil 4 a lot. It's a very fun game. You're talking about the over-the-shoulder third-person point of view.
It's not even just that. It's the way, in part 7, you could kind of look over your shoulder, and you could crouch, and you could kind of see better to see ahead if there's enemies behind a wall or something. And in this one, you can't really do that. It's hard to explain. It's just the feel of it. It's not necessarily, I guess it's not necessarily the point of view. It's just the feel of the controls and the amount of range you really get when you're trying to hide from an enemy or something. But
don't be hiding.
Dude, I'm good at this game. I run past, running past. First of all, since it's old, it's kind of glitchy at times. So they'll go to hit you with an axe, and it just goes through your body and doesn't even cause any harm. So you just make a run for it, and you're good.
Are you to the castle yet?
What is the castle?
Oh, okay, so you're not to the castle.
I'm to the giant. There's a giant. You're in this, I don't know what's even called, area, and then a giant thing, they unleash this guy into the area you're in and lock you in, and then you have to kill it somehow.
You're pretty close, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I've always really liked Resident Evil 4. I think that the people who love it and think it's the best Resident Evil are crazy, I would say. It's a great Resident Evil, but I think the people that love it so much, it was probably their first Resident Evil, or they played it after it came out, went back to it. But I've been there since day one with Resident Evil in 1998. I think the original came out. So I'm kind of I'm an old school Resident Evil fan. I mean, I've been playing since the very first one. I played a bunch of the spin-offs and stuff like that. My personal favorite Resident Evil game is the first Resident Evil, but I also really like 4, 2, 3, I haven't played. I've only played 3 one time. And then a favorite of mine, it's actually probably my second favorite, is surprisingly Resident Evil 5, which everybody seems to hate. And everybody prefers 4 over 5 because they're very similar. But I actually prefer 5 because I think 5 has more replay value. 4 is, better atmosphere and overall more innovative at the time and stuff like that, but 5 I played the hell out of. I played over and over and over and over again, and I've always wanted to go back and do that again, but like co-op, because I've always done it solo, except for I used to play online a lot and match up with random people. But has Ashley gotten on your nerves yet? Leon!
Yeah, it's so annoying. Like, you just like almost got killed, and she's just like, how's it going?
Now, have you tried to look up her skirt?
No.
Oh, okay. So that's something that guys usually do. But
oh my God.
She has a like a character, like her character says something when you do that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. But yeah, see, for me, I was just going to mention, like you said, you replayed that one over and over. For me, video games, unless it's like a free play game, like Grand Theft Auto or something, I don't really go back and play through them. It's kind of like reading a book. Like, I'm just on to the next storyline.
See, well, there's a few reasons why you would replay certain games. Like Resident Evil 4, if you play it on a higher difficulty, you unlock something. Resident Evil 5 had so many weapons in it that you could unlock and upgrade weapons over and over again, and even unlock like infinite ammo for them and stuff like that, but you needed money to do that, so you had to play through and build up your money again. And I would just like buy every gun and upgrade it to the max, and then unlock. The fun thing about Resident Evil 5 is doing different kits. Like, you could, like, I'm only going to use a sniper and the very first pistol in this one, or I'm only going to use a pistol, or I'm only going to use this SMG. And fun stuff like that I really got a kick out of. Like, I know Resident Evil 5, you can unlock, like, this Tommy gun, or Resident Evil 4, you can unlock this Tommy gun called the Typewriter. If you beat, like, I think there's a bonus thing at the end of 4. But I stopped playing 4 on my second playthrough fairly recently because I got to those bonus levels where you have to shoot the targets, and the last one, I wanted to get the achievement for doing all of them, and it was just pissing me off so bad I couldn't do it, so it actually made me mad to where I didn't want to play the game anymore. How do you like the merchant?
Austin asked me that same question. At first, I thought he was a bad guy.
Yeah, he's scary, scared. Right?
Yeah, he's like, hello, and he just like comes out of nowhere, which was pretty funny.
What are you buying?
Yeah, like I was like ready to shoot him whenever he first appeared. But...
And dude, like there's certain places where you walk around a corner and he's there and he scares the crap out of you.
Yeah, and then like there's this one save where I am now. There's a save room where he just has, it's like his shop. He has like a whole table lined out for you to buy stuff at. It's just random, but I like his little blue light that he has carrying around him. Yeah. And I do like that aspect to the game as well, that you can go find all that money and then go buy more weapons or ammo or whatever.
Mm-hmm. What are you rocking?
What am I rocking? I don't even know. I keep getting rifles.
Yeah.
Of sorts. I don't really know my rifles that well, but that's kind of my go-to, because you can blast off heads pretty easily. I don't really like the hand grenades and stuff, because I just feel like it's kind of wasteful to throw I feel like you have to really know when to throw one of those, but I typically just go with the basic handgun or whatever rifle I happen to have.
See, I'm a shotgun guy. I like shotguns in Resident Evil games.
Mm.
Have you played Resident Evil 2?
No, I've only played...
the remaster that just came out.
Yeah, that's like kind of the next one I would like to get to, because I know everyone was hyping that one up, but I've only played 7 and 4. I would like to play, all of them at one point.
6 sucks, dude. It's horrible. I bought it played like 10 minutes of it and like threw it in the trash pretty much.
Jeez.
But I will tell you this, like, because I think you should check out. I have Resident Evil 2. I could let you borrow it. The remaster, Resident Evil 3 remaster is coming out soon. I will tell you this: you're gonna struggle hard with Resident Evil 2. It's a very different game, and like you're playing there's like kind of two types of Resident Evil games. There's pre-Resident Evil 4 Resident Evils and post Resident Evil 4 Resident Evils. So, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica are all very puzzle-based and more of a survival game. And Resident Evil 4 and beyond is kind of more of a shooter and a action horror game. Resident Evil 2 is extremely difficult if you're not prepared for it. I could see you getting stuck a lot of places. But I would be very curious to see you play. I'll tell you what, it's way scarier than Resident Evil 4.
Really? Yeah, this one, part 4 is not scary at all, really. I mean, I like the music when the music starts playing whenever there's a bunch of people around. I think that's kind of scary. But, part 7 I thought was pretty spooky as well. But, yeah, I mean, I've gotten better at video games. I used to just give up when I would get stuck on a mission because I would just be so mad. I would do that in all the Grand Theft Auto games. That's kind of what I played growing up more so than survival games. But I used to just kind of get mad, give up, and say F this and move on to the next game. But I'm more to where I want to, like, actually follow the story and see what happens and, like, play through it now. So I'm more determined. It just takes me a while. I know the typical man sits down and plays a game within 4 to 7 hours, and they're like, oh, I already beat it in one day. Me, it takes me like 4 to 7 months, but you know.
When Resident Evil 7 came out, Jeremy had these red box codes, like, you know, free day rental or whatever, and we both went and rented Resident Evil 7, and we both beat it in 2 sittings. So I sat down and played it for like 10 hours, and then the next day I played it for a couple more hours and I beat it. And he did the same thing. Yeah, so you're right. Typically with like story mode games like that, I pretty much beat them fast. Resident Evil 2, it took me a while actually. It took me like a week's worth of sittings, maybe even longer. But I'm very excited for Resident Evil 3 because that's the one I'm least familiar with out of the originals. I want to get Resident Evil 5, both of us, so that we can play it together because Resident Evil 5 is completely co-op. So if you play online, you know how like Ashley's there in Resident Evil 4? It's the same thing, but the other person is allowed to control the Ashley character essentially.
Ooh,
so
okay.
It's a 2-person game. Pretty much, which makes it a lot funner.
Yeah.
But yeah, my week, I recorded 22 shots. We did the David Cronenberg director spotlight. We had a special guest, Mr. Watson, on the show. That was really fun. Very cool to have a show with Watson. I've actually never recorded with Watson ever.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never? Oh, yeah. I guess not. That's crazy. That's so weird.
And it was a great show to have Watson on because those films are a little bit more depth worthy than, you know, like Moods kept joking around the clown show we did. But yeah, Watson fit in great. He was awesome. That show's out now on Patreon. By the time you hear this, it'll probably be out everywhere else. And yeah, I'm very happy with how that turned out. People seem to like it that were on the Patreon. And Watson, you know, does his Watson thing. He kills the episode, brings some great thought to the show.
Yeah, anytime been trying to listen to Watsy Party, as I mentioned before, and like he'll just start talking, and some of the words he says, it just makes my brain feel like a scrambled egg. Like I'm just a total moron compared to him. Like I
Oh
know
yeah.
he I know he goes hard and does all this research, so he's like super prepared, but I'm just like, oh, like that's a word I've never even heard before, but yeah. But
Yeah.
that's cool that he's on your show and he finally made his first appearance.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. We've had like close to like 20 guests now, I think,
Hmm.
in the history. And what's crazy is I don't think we did a single guest until like episode like 60 or something, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Children of the Corn show that we did. But besides that, watched a couple of movies. Me and you hung out yesterday for a little bit. Man, you know what I've been doing?
What?
I've been watching. This is gonna really make me seem lame. Have you ever heard of Degrassi?
Yes. I've also heard that you have quite a liking for Degrassi.
Tubi, the free streaming service, which, by the way, let me just say, out of all the streaming services out there, Netflix, Hulu, Shudder, even the free ones like Crackle, Amazon Prime, there are good ones like Shudder, which is, in my opinion, the best one.
Hmm.
But honestly, for horror movies, the second best one might be Tubi. Tubi is fantastic. There is great movies on there that are on other streaming services, but they're free. You just have to watch a couple ads, and it's honestly not that many ads. And also, there is tons of stuff on there that is nowhere else on any other streaming service. And there's stuff on there that's not even on DVD.
Damn.
Yeah, there's stuff on there that's like out of print or just hard to find. It's pretty cool, man. I've been really loving Tubi. I actually, it's kind of like my nighttime, like throw Tubi on and throw on a random movie. Like I started so many movies that I didn't finish over the past week. Some of them I did, but it's a great streaming service. But anyway, I've been watching Degrassi on there when I eat because like I don't want to watch a movie while I eat, so I'll just throw on like an episode of something, and
Yeah.
Degrassi is on there, and they have like all 10 years worth of seasons. It's kind of crazy, dude. Like I was watching it and I was just like, wow, this is nuts. Like I watched this when I was a teenager. Like the same age as the characters, like 13, 12, 13, 11 or something. And man, I think that show is amazing. Like the stuff that it deals with and handles is great. It might be more of a chick show, but I watched the hell out of it growing up. I've actually seen the whole entire series, the original. Well, not the original series, because there was actually a series that came out in the 80s. Before this one. This is all the like kids of that one. But I've seen that series too. I actually owned that on DVD, which I like that series too, which also was, great for what it was, helping kids deal with problems, real life problems. But, it handles everything from like the season, I'm on season 2 already. And, it's where one of the characters gets raped, and how that is handled is really well done. It handles a lot of stuff, from racism to homophobia to, being poor to being a nerd to being, first time having sex and, abuse and even a school shooting in a later season. But yeah, it's a great show. I've been watching that, so probably gonna get made fun of, but I don't care. I like Degrassi. Also it is there are some things that in the first season that are pretty cringy, honestly. Looking back
Really?
on it, yeah, there's some cringy moments, but
I hate when I try to rewatch a show from when I was young and everything about it is just a cringe fest. And back when I was young, it seemed so great.
what else? I think I don't think I really did much else this week. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So is that I haven't actually checked out Tubi. Can you get an app like for
Yep.
your TV or X? Oh, okay.
Xbox. Yeah, I have
Xbox.
mine on the Xbox. You don't even have to sign up, but if you want to create a like watch list, go ahead and sign up because then you could save stuff that you want to watch later.
Mm.
And there's some good stuff that's on there that's not horror too. There's a lot of fun stuff on there. Like I will also watch Unsolved Mysteries on there, which I think is on Prime as well. But
Mm-hmm.
that's another show I'll throw on when I go to bed. Like you've heard my history of Forensic Files. That's on there
Yes.
as well. I love Forensic Files, and I throw that on all the time. But sometimes it depresses me a lot. Like if I'm not in the greatest of moods, and like I'll throw it on, I'll be like, "What the hell am I doing?" You know, I just get sad because all that show does is remind you of how like short life is and how it can be over in a second.
Yeah, that's kind of like my aunt has always been really into just stuff like Forensic Files, Unsolved Mysteries, all those just crime shows. And I remember being a kid and just being so like, what the, even the music that they play in it and the narrators are always super serious and depressing. And like, I agree. I do like those shows sometimes. I don't like them as much as you, but I remember in high school whenever, I don't know, everyone would call off sick or call off, not show up to school or something, and the teacher would be like, "Oh, there's not enough kids here to have class," and it was actually a microbiology / forensics class. He would just put on forensic file episodes, and I'd be really into it. But I feel the same way. I just get really depressed by crime type shows and just the fact that stuff might not be solved or things go wrong or, if someone gets murdered and they don't know what happened to them. So I try to avoid them for the most part.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. It's I can get that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what have you watched anything this week?
I have. Again, I haven't, watched a ton, but I have watched a few things. Pretty much just been watching stuff for any podcast I have to do, and other than that, watching whatever I want once again, which has been nice. So I watched, I'll just kind of run through these quickly, not give a huge spiel, but I watched Cry Wolf from, I believe, the year 2005. I picked that up at,
You know
the
what?
caching. What?
I always used to get that one confused with Wolf Creek,
Really?
which
Yeah.
is a much better movie. But is Cry Wolf like a slasher-ish thing?
Yeah, it's the one about there's like this kid who goes to this college and or it's like a boarding school, I think. I don't even think it's college. I think they're still like in high school and it's just like a kind of prestigious boarding school and there's a group of kids and they decide to make this fake email pretty much about a serial killer and they spread it around the campus and it's just, a hoax, of course, just kind of a practical joke. And then the kid who had moved there, the boy, he starts getting these emails from someone saying they're actually the killer and they killed people and then stuff kind of goes from there. So you have seen it before?
Yeah, but it's been since it probably came out.
Yeah, I don't know. I always was kind of intrigued by it. I remember when it came out and just seeing the commercials, I guess, and then just always seeing the cover in stores. And I picked this one up at, our local Cash and Culture that's sadly going out of business, which is a used DVD / video game / like just magazine, anything like used you can buy there,
It's
like
a
video
retro
games.
store.
Yeah, yeah. So I picked that up there just for the heck of it. It had been there on DVD for a while, and I figured might as well grab something. So got it for pretty cheap. But yeah, the movie it oozes like the 2005 vibe, the early to mid 2000s vibe to it, and I enjoyed it. I thought the plot was a little bit ridiculous, especially towards the end, just how it all goes down. And it's also a pretty predictable film. I kind of knew who I guess the bad guy was going to be from, very early on. And then they kind of try to throw a curveball in there, but then it's like you kind of turn out being right at the end. So I don't know. It's predictable. It's, like I said, has that early 2000s kind of style to it. And you know, the plot gets a little convoluted, but I thought it was fun. It was okay. If I had to give a rating, I give it like 7 out of 10, but and then after that, I just watched a film that came out in 2019, which was Break. You and I both saw that at Walmart, of course.
Yeah,
and thought it looked pretty intriguing. Yes, I own it too. Reason I watched this one was for my movie versus movie horror podcast that I do with Austin, and JP and I kind of thought like, hey, this looks like similar to Adam Green's Frozen, and that was kind of my idea to do it on our podcast. So watch that one. Not going to give like my full opinions on it here, of course, since I did it for the other podcast, but I will say it was not that bad. Sometimes you see these Walmart films and you picture them being super low budget, super bad acting, because half the time they are. And this one wasn't too bad. Very similar to Frozen in plot, but it was decent. I would, you know, kind of recommend it if you're into those types of films. But then after that, I watched The Witch again.
Why?
Because I went to a movie night with our, you know, regular life friend Matt and some friends, and that was the film he chose to put on. I guess because he had just watched The Lighthouse, and I think our other friend Jonathan had just watched The Lighthouse, and he was like, hey, here's this movie, The Witch, and, you know, so I wasn't too excited about that, but upon this watch, I came around on it. Heavily.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
I recognize it is a solid film. I had not seen this movie since, what was that, 2016? That was the first movie that you and I had mentioned we had seen in theaters when we first started hanging out, and back then I did not care for it. I don't like period pieces. I've said that a million times, but I just can't get into them usually. This time I actually paid attention to it pretty good, and like I said, you know, finally getting to watch it out of the theater. Matt did put on the subtitles for the film, so that made it better and more easy to understand. It's a pretty simple plot, honestly. That's my thing with period piece films. A lot of times I don't really connect with the plot, and I can't get behind it, and I just get confused on what's going on and kind of check out of them. But, you know, the plot is pretty simple, but the way the film is shot and the way the dialogue is done and just what's going on is fantastic. What's the dude's name? Robert Eggers, the director.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he is fantastic with doing these period pieces. Probably one of the best there is as far as accuracy goes. And yeah, I really just got behind the whole idea that back then it's like people, all they lived for was working and serving the Lord, and they believed so heavily in like witchcraft and the devil and just praying every day and praying everything to go away whenever evil stuff started happening, and how everyone would just turn on each other. Like obviously you had the witch trials and all that stuff, and it's crazy to me. It's very depressing to me too, that this is all people thought about in their life. If you know what I mean? Like, you feel me, JP?
Mm-hmm.
You feeling? Yeah, like just the fact that like, it's like, oh, I think my daughter's a witch, so I will now banish her for life and stuff like that. And that's all they cared about back then. And that's kind of what I really liked about the film. So, yeah, I this might sound crazy, but I give it a 10 out of 10 now.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, I told you that it was an amazing movie. It's probably my top 2 or 3 favorite movies of the decade, the tens, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I only gave it like a 7.5 when I first seen it.
Yeah, me too. I gave it like a 7, I think, just for the lulz.
But I love that movie now. It is so good. That was the last thing you watched?
Well, I also watched Frozen for our podcast. Once again, don't want to give too much away on that, but Frozen, it's a great film. Fantastic film. If you have not seen it, definitely check that one out. And then I watched Amityville 4, once again, The Evil Escapes, and I just watched that on VHS not too long ago, and I got the good old Vin Sin Blu-ray, and I thought, I've been looking at it, and I thought, like, I just watched this, but I don't know, I felt like popping it back in, because I actually think this movie is a fun, definitely super TV type of movie, but I just have a fun time with it. I find it entertaining, and I posted the other night, it's becoming like a guilty pleasure type of film for me. It's not like a great movie by any means, especially, Amityville 4 compared to like Amityville 1 and 2. It's clearly nothing like them, and it's got nothing to do with really the Amityville house, but I just think it's a pretty fun movie. So yeah, give that one a 7 out of 10. And that's it for all I've watched recently.
All right. I also watched I popped in Amityville 4 today actually, but I didn't get a chance to finish it. So that's actually what I'm going to watch after this podcast.
Whoa.
But for me, where did I leave off last week with my watches? Did I talk about Children of the Corn?
Yeah, yeah, you did, because I remember I mentioned that, I like that movie, but it's not one I really run back to a lot.
Did I mention Videodrome?
I didn't think so.
Okay. So, again, going through my collection is the goal here. I watched Videodrome for the 22 Shots podcast, which, you could listen to. That movie is very cool. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Have you seen much Cronenberg?
I don't think.
Honestly, kind of a revelation while prepping for that show, but I love Cronenberg. Like,
what all has he?
He is so good.
What all has he done?
He has done Shivers, Rabid, Videodrome, The Fly, The Brood, Scanners, the Stephen King adaptation. What the hell is it called? What's the Stephen King one he did?
I don't know.
The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken, Dead Ringers, Crash.
Oh, geez.
Those are like all the ones I've seen, but he's done some other ones too.
Okay, yeah, so I've seen The Fly, obviously. I mean, that's a 10 out of 10 in my book. I love The Fly. Scanners, I own on VHS. I watched it once and I couldn't really get into it. So
that's probably his like most like cheesy one that he's done.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of, I just could not get into the story for some reason. And then Shivers, is that the one that we?
Yeah, that's the
saw
apartment
together?
Complex one.
I remember thinking that one was pretty good too, but I don't really remember it at all. But other than that, that's the only 3 I have seen by him. So.
Pretty much every single, well, not even pretty much every one that I mentioned is great. They are all good movies. I didn't realize how extensive and awesome his catalog is, and there's still even a couple films that I haven't seen. And his horror stuff is fantastic. He's known for body horror kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But like even like 1996's Crash is like really good. I think that you should get into some more Cronenberg, man. He's an awesome director. Definitely one of the best horror directors of all time. All right, so I did watch The Brood, which I don't own, so that was a little bit unfortunate. Videodrome I did own, but I had seen before, so I'm not counting that necessarily as a part of the collection watch. One that was part of the collection watch is Venomous, from, I forget what even year it is. It's like in the 2000s. It basically follows these genetically engineered rattlesnakes that get, all fired up during a earthquake in a small town. And there's like government cover up stuff and things like that. Kind of basic, honestly. I'd seen this before when I was a kid. I would have liked a little bit more snake action, but there was a scene that like stuck out in my head where like this dude's climbing up a ladder and like this tunnel with tons of snakes, and that's pretty cool. All practical for them. I'm pretty sure all practical, but there's just not much snake interaction with people. But still pretty, pretty not I'm a sucker for these killer animal movies. Then I popped in Digging Up the Marrow, which is the second to last Adam Green film that he had done before Victor it was before Victor Crowley. Yeah, this movie I liked when I first seen it. I think I liked it more for sure this watch. It's very creative and cool. It's a fun little movie. I think that this one is just a movie that it's not doing anything too groundbreaking, and it's kind of scratching the surface on the idea. It's sort of this found footage thing that Adam Green did, but I think that it's super cool and creative, and a little. It's something different from, the Hatchet films, but I still think it's in that almost like comedic territory that Adam's kind of been in ever since, probably Hatchet. His two films that really aren't that comedic are Frozen and Spiral, and I also think those are his best movies. But at the same time, Adam Green has kind of created a almost like universe of types of movies, like almost like a Kevin Smith or Quentin Tarantino-esque filmography. Not necessarily as good as, Quentin Tarantino, but has sort of a similar dialogue style to Tarantino and Kevin Smith, which I really appreciate, and I like that about Adam's films. I like all of his movies.
Yeah, Digging Up the Marrow, I think, is the only one I have not seen. And I forgot to mention, I actually watched the entire first season of Holliston again the other night. I just sat down and watched the entire thing all the way through while I did some other stuff in between, but I had it on in the background, and that's a great show. I mean, it's so funny. Like, I could see some people maybe thinking it's a little too goofy, but to me, it's almost like The Big Bang Theory, but for horror fans.
Yeah.
And
well, if you know Adam's story at all, that was his goal from, like, the moment he started, like, making movies, like, was to do that show. That's why it's sad that it ended, after only 2 seasons. Because that was his very first film, Coffee and Donuts, which is unavailable. I tried to find it all day, like the other day. It screened during his Save the Yorkie marathon over this past year. That's one of the only times it was really ever shown publicly, besides like, little fests and in his own way and stuff like that. But that film is essentially Holliston. It's a similar story. But yeah, that it's never been released because it has tons of copyrighted music in it. Yeah, but it's actually Holliston. It was sort of his baby.
Yeah, it really is a bummer. I have not watched. I forget if I've seen. I don't think I've seen any of the second season, or if I did, it's only been. No, I really don't. I don't think I've ever watched the second season because I watched that first season with you that one time, and then I'm pretty sure that was the end of it. But I do own the second season, and I'm gonna cherish that one a little bit more because I'm sad that we don't get any more of it. Mm-hmm. But
I actually liked Holliston so much that I watched like all the bonus features and all the episode commentaries and stuff like that on the first season.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a really, really good show, and I like Adam. If there's one thing that I could say about Adam Green, is there's always a story behind every film, and Adam Green does a fantastic job telling the stories of his films, how they came about, the process, all the kicks in the balls, everything that comes along with filmmaking, and Adam Green has really opened, or sort of opened the door to like everything that he does, and I think that's why he is so appealing to movie fans, because he really does share his process, which is you don't often get.
Yeah.
So yeah, Digging Up the Marrow, that was a really, really fun rewatch. And that that was another one of the DVDs I had, or Blu-rays I still had sealed there. So then I checked out Splatter University, Vinegar Syndrome. This movie was fun. Definitely not Vinegar Syndrome's nicest transfer, but I think I feel like the film stock was rough on that one. Just based on it, like it was even rough. It just looked rough. This one was fun. The killer was super obvious. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a secret, but I picked him out like pretty early on. But yeah, fun movie, kind of a little whole religious little aspect to it. And then I had another sealed Blu-ray there, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Basically, this submarine goes down. When it comes back up, like, the world's on fire, essentially.
That sucks.
Yeah, it actually looks really cool, how the world's all, like, red and stuff, but they need to, like, launch a nuke into the, like, thing to stop this, like, comet shower thing. It's like a disaster film. Honestly, I thought this was a different movie for some reason. Something else that I had seen when I was a kid. I don't think I've actually seen this. It was okay. I was kind of bored in it a little bit. I wanted more of like a, you know, something a little bit more horrific than this. It's more of like a adventure drama, disaster type thing. But I watched it. And finally, the last thing that I watched, I went and seen 1917 today. And that movie was awesome. I caught a 2 p.m. screening of it at our local theater. And it's a movie that I've been anticipating for a while. I love war movies. And this one's pretty interesting because it's almost done in like one continuous shot. For the most part, it is. There are cuts in there and stuff like that. Some of them are very hidden. Other ones are more obvious, like you know, the screen goes black and then, you know, time goes by. But for like almost all of it feels like one, you know, real time event. And like the whole first scene and like watching the camera work around the characters in this like huge oneer, that I didn't notice a cut in it. You know, I'm sure there had to be, but because it's such a long scene before I noticed the first cut. But wow, man, like it is a beautiful piece of cinema. It is masterful in its craft. And the story is good too. You know, kind of sad at times. Almost cried. War makes me sad.
Yeah. But
it's basically follows these two dudes who are, you know, in this battalion in World War One, for the British forces, and they have to relay a message to another battalion that is about to like storm the Germans. Basically saying like the Germans know you're about to storm them and it's a trap. They want you to do that. And they have to go all the way across enemy lines to get this message to them. And the one soldier's brother is in that battalion, so he has even more of a reason to get there on time. And it's just pretty insane. It's a pretty crazy movie. I loved it. It is the best film I've seen of the year.
Good to know. Very good to know.
Let me put that in perspective. I've seen The Grudge, I've seen Underwater, and I've seen 1917.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, it's definitely going to be a runner for my favorite film of the year.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I came home and even told my pap about it because I almost wish that I would have took him with me because he would have loved this too.
Yeah, I could see him liking something like that.
But yeah, that's the stuff that I've watched. For those of you who are wondering, I think I'm at like 15 or 16 unwatched titles on the year so far. Not even through the first month yet. So pretty happy about that. Of course, in the summer, I'll have a lot more time when 22 Shots takes a break. But yeah, I've been cranking through some titles of mine, which is making me so happy. Like, I've been neglecting the DVDs heavy because I just love Blu-ray so much. But for example, like today, while I was watching 1917, there's a lot of horrific stuff in it. Like there's, you know, World War I trench warfare was a grotesque and horrible historical thing that happened.
Trench
And
foot.
yeah, Trenchfoot.
Yeah, that's what that's from.
Shut up. But the atrocities of war, and they do a good job of like making you feel horrible for the people like crawling through dead bodies in that have been rotting in the weather, and rats, and everything, and just gross flies and stuff. But it got me thinking of a movie from 2002 called Death Watch, which was set in World War I, Trench Warfare 2, and it's a horror movie. And then it got me thinking about other war horror movies, which I think is an underutilized subgenre, but I love it. And I was like, you know what? I think I have one called The Bunker that is sealed that I've had forever. So maybe I'll pop that one in just to see. It's probably crap, but I'll check it out. I have a handful of war horror movies, but not many that I haven't seen yet. So that's one that I haven't seen. So I figured I would maybe check that out this week, since I'm kind of in the mood for some more war stuff, but I would like to tie it into horror. It even made, I was like thinking like, oh man, I want to watch Dog Soldiers and Death Watch and some of the other ones that I've seen that are good. But yeah, that's what I watched this week.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. How many movies have you watched total so far this year?
30, I think.
Oh my, I've only watched 17.
Yeah, I've been kind of killing it lately.
Yeah.
What really helps is being able to watch whatever I want. Like when I have time to do that, which I don't really have time this week because I do need to get some movies in that I'm supposed to watch. But it just makes things go so smooth.
Yeah, I feel that. I love. It's kind of like when you go to the fridge though, and you don't know what you want to eat, but you have a bunch of food in the fridge that you love, and you just don't know what to watch when you look at your collection.
I talked about that on this week's 22 Shots. Like, I stand there at my collection forever and don't know what to pick. So I've kind of just been trying to think less about it and just grab something,
Yeah.
But, all right. So, do you want to get into this topic of discussion?
I do.
All right. So, we're talking memory lane here. We're going through all of the movies that we've seen in the theater or drive-in. Some of them we have great memories of. Other ones we have I think we pretty much slept through that one. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then we have stuff that I'm not even going to remember a damn thing about. Other things that, I remember a lot about. But for the most part, we have most of these dated, not to the day, but to the month at least. And we've seen 97 retro horror movies combined. Not all horror. There's a few non-horror in here, and some of them we've seen multiple times. Like certain titles, we've seen that movie in the theater multiple times. But there's a lot of unique individual stuff that stuff that very few people have ever even seen in the theater or a drive-in. But have you ever seen a retro movie in the theater before this list?
As I said, the only thing I've seen is Titanic, and that's it. There was one point they used to play Halloween, 78, of course, in the theater a lot. They still do. Like every year, there's always almost guaranteed to be a theater that plays that. And I remember my mom saying we should go to that, but we never ended up doing it, whatever year that was. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Titanic is the only one I went to see in the theater, and that was another one my mom kind of was interested in seeing. I think they played that at not the Waterfront or anything. It was the Westmoreland Mall. It was a random theater. I don't know if it was. It was actually, yeah. It was. I think it was in 2012 because it was the 100-year anniversary of Titanic sinking. So, but other than that,
So it
No, I have
predates
not.
this list, 2012, so you're the first person out of us to see a retro movie in the theater.
Oh yeah, I didn't think to add it to the list, but yeah, I win.
Yeah. Um, I don't think I saw anything before my first one. Well, for the most part, we've seen most of these together, but there were a few that we've seen separate.
Yeah.
Where shall we start? I guess at the beginning of the list would be best. So
Yes.
this list dates back to 2013, which is, I think, before I met you.
Yes, 2 years before.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
So I saw 4 films in the theater or drive-in before I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah, retro ones.
Pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So the very first one that I saw was October 2013. It was like, I remember it was before Halloween, like the 28th or something, you know what I mean? And it was in a theater. It was digital projection. It was for the, I think, like the 35th anniversary or something of Halloween. Or was it 45th? 40th. I don't remember. What would that be? 78 to 2013.
I guess it would have to, wait. 45th, I guess.
45th? Holy crap.
70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wild. I know.
We're like approaching the 50th. Fifth. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. 45th.
Wait. Was it even for an anniversary, or was it just, 78, 88, 98, 2008? Wait. No, that doesn't make sense. You're right.
88.
2018 would have been the 40th.
Yeah.
So 35th.
Okay. So 35th. And it was, they played this little thing before it and stuff like that. It was really cool. I truly enjoyed Halloween that time. I've mentioned before that I was never the biggest fan of Halloween. Growing up, like, I liked Halloween 3. I didn't even like Halloween, the original. And I barely ever it would be on and I'd like see parts of it, but I never really sat down and watched it. In fact, I saw Halloween 3 many more times before I ever saw Halloween. And then I actually seen H2O before I ever seen Halloween. All the way through. So eventually I did sit down and watch it, probably around like 2010 or 12 or something, and I really liked it. And then seeing it in the theater really opened my eyes towards it. I think that why this is so interesting too is because I think seeing a movie in the theater can be the best way to see the movie. It can bring out something that you have never experienced with the movie before. And that's why I'm a huge fan of seeing movies in the theater or drive-in. It just adds a new element to it, especially if it's a movie you've seen elsewhere. But even stuff for the first time has a profound effect on you if you have a good experience. It can be a bad experience too in the theater. But usually it can be the height of your watching that movie, you know what I mean? Which we will get to titles that I loved so much in the theater that it's like the best time I ever had watching the movie. But yeah, I saw Halloween 78. This was in, I have the address there. I looked it up like years later.
I was wondering, I see you have the addresses on all these things.
Yeah, because I wanted to know where I seen them in case I ever forgot. But that is in like, if you Google the address, it's in like South Hills or something.
Oh, so you probably saw it at the AMC in South Hills, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere. But it was like a very nice mall, like theater. It was very nice. I went with my cousin, and my friend Abby, and my friend Abby drove us. Like, this is back when I didn't have friends who were into this stuff that I was, so like I had to like make it like I had to like convince, like I didn't even drive back then, so I I
Yeah.
had to like convince them that it was like a fun thing to do, and like it was always like a pain. Like I always wanted to do this stuff, but I felt like an annoying friend who was trying to drag their friends who weren't into anime or something to like an anime thing. You know, that's how I would feel if somebody I was friends with was into anime and they were like trying to get me to like go see an anime movie or something. But
Yeah.
so I would always want to do stuff like this because I was aware of this stuff before I actually went and did it, but it was like always such a pain. And even that one was like a little bit rough, but like I'm like made it seem like it was a big deal to me, and like that I would be like super happy. And like back then, my friend Abby, like we hung out a lot, and she would always like try to, she would try to do stuff for me to make me happy, which is what a nice thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so after that, like a year later, the very next movie that I saw was actually Halloween 1978.
That's crazy.
This one
Back
was
to
a
back.
different story. This was a drive-in, very famous drive-in because it's something that we do every year since we've been kind of hanging out. And it is the Riverside Drive-In, which is like an hour and some change away from us. But they do this thing called the April Ghouls Day Drive-In Marathon, and it's 2 nights, 8 movies. And this particular year, I went for night 1 or 2. I think the night before, just based on my memory, was like Suspiria and like Carrie and other cool stuff that I wish I got to do. But again, I didn't drive back then. My cousin had just got his license like fairly recently. He was a late driver too because he's older than me. And I convinced him that this would be an awesome thing to do. And me, him, his little brother, and my cousin Shannon, who you know, all went to this thing. Made a huge mistake and was worried about getting to it because it was like an hour away. Went way too early. So we got there at like noon or something, you know? And you know that me and you don't get there till like 7 or 8 sometimes. So that's literally like 7 or 8 hours.
That's so ridiculous when you
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah, so by the time the first movie started, everybody was tired and cranky from sitting around. And like we did do a little bit of stuff beforehand, like we went and got beer and like got like went to this bowling alley that was next door that's now shut down, and you know did a few things like that. But it was like they were miserable by like the second movie. Like they were not. I could tell. I like felt bad that I even drugged them to this thing because they were clearly not really into it. These things were on 35 millimeters, so like to the average person, it looks like crap, and they don't even want to like see it. But I was like loving it, you know, other than the fact that I felt bad. So Halloween 78 on 35 millimeter is, if you've seen it on 35 millimeter, we've probably seen the same print. It's very orange, which is funny because Halloween, you know, pumpkins, orange, the whole thing is orange. It's funny that it's like that, but, then, the film right after that, such a weird movie to see in a theater, but also a movie that has grown on me. This was the first time I seen it at the time. It's called The Beast Within. It's basically about a damn cicada monster that rapes women. It's crazy, but it's a good movie. And I have it on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. And the third movie, this was April 28th, by the way, 2014, all 3 of these ones, was Phantasm, 1979. And that was awesome, seeing that on 35 millimeter. I was very happy with that. And that was it. We left after that because I could tell that they were not feeling it. And 4 people in a cramped car was not fun. So the next movie would have been Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, which would have been cool to see because I do really like that movie. Made my top 10 in 1972, but we bounced out because it was, you know, and we do that a lot. We don't always stay for all the movies. Because you just get tired of sitting. It's uncomfortable to sit in a car that long. But yeah, so that was April 28th, 2014, and I didn't see another one until 2 years later, actually, almost to the day, and that was with you. So what did we see?
Well, this was when you were trying to convince me and like some coworkers about this drive-in now, and you explained all that stuff, how your cousins were miserable. So, to me it was like a huge event because I'd never driven like an hour away before that, which sounds crazy now because I've driven to so many places at this point. But so to me it was like a big event. I was so hype, and the first movie in the lineup was The Monster Squad.
Do you remember what, like, you almost killed us on the way there?
Yes, but that was because I was given very poor driving instructions.
Not
directions.
Not by me.
Yeah, by someone who is let's just say an ex-buddy.
Yeah, we don't like this guy at all. He was super fake and like tried to basically ruin our lives.
Yeah, it's one of those people you'd have to like meet him to even understand. But
yeah, it's like Jeremy times like 10 on like a different level.
Yeah, it's like they're similar but not. Yeah, you can't even describe this person, but basically, we were like I think we were like far in the right lane, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, you have to turn left right here." So I panicked mode and veered over like 3 lanes to the left, and that wasn't the correct way to go anyway. So that was fun. But
yeah, I believe I even told him like, "Okay, I'm navigating now."
Yeah.
And I remember, like, it's funny thinking back on that because this place is like easy to get to.
It's ridiculously easy. There's like, it's a straight shot. You get on one road, then you get on another road, and then boom, you're there. Yeah,
we overcomplicated it back then. What do you remember? Like I said, what do you remember from like our pre-movie? Like, do you remember anything from that day besides almost wrecking?
I remember we all met at the hotel. Well, the night before, like, we acted like we were going to the beach to Florida or something for like a week. Or like, we made such a big deal out of this. We went to Denny's the night before to plan out things, which I think we barely even did that. We kind of just like ate, and then we ended up going to Walmart. I didn't
remember that. This is fun talking about it because I didn't remember that we went to Denny's.
I remember. And then I think it was the same night after we ate, we went to Walmart because I think we all took off the next day. So, it was late, but who cared? And we went to Walmart and we bought a ridiculous amount of snackage that we barely ate any of, as well as drinks. But that was still fun. I love going to the store and just buying a bunch of junk food, even though I know damn well I'm not going to end up eating it all. It's just, once again, we acted like we pretty much brought enough food to feed a family of 20, but we also did not know that this drive-in, what the food was going to be like there, because some, drive-ins typically have,
I knew that it had good food, but I didn't really share that information.
Yeah, but also in our heads, we always think, oh, we're going to save money and bring all these snacks, but, we'll get into it, but we end up eating way too much at the drive-in and buying all their food there anyway, but so we did that, and then the next day, of course, rolled around, and we met at the hotel, I believe, and I remember we all piled into my car. I was the one driving, of course, and you made a playlist, a CD. That was the first time you made me a mix CD with music that you like, and I remember it was Hobson. The first song was that Hobson song called "The Good Guys Get Left Behind." And you said this song is about you to the guy that we don't want to talk about anymore, and it was awkward because that guy like had a crush on me. But so I remember we pulled into the gas station because I heard this noise and I looked behind me and the trunk was open that we put all the food in. The trunk was like wide open. Either. Yeah, it was hilarious because I remember we pulled over and I was in my head. I thought we're gonna die on this trip because we can't even get out of our town. And then yeah, we drove along. Everything went smoothly, besides pretty much that one part where we almost wrecked because of me and the directions and all that. But trying to think, I think that was pretty much it. We got there. I think we got there earlier than we typically do now because we were nervous, not as early as noon, but we still got there probably around 5 or something like that when it was still pretty bright out because they usually start the movies around 9. I think sundown's like at 8, but they don't end up getting it rolling until around 9 o'clock. So,
I've noticed over the years they've gotten a little bit faster with stuff. Like they don't take as much time in between the movies like they did at first, which is nice because sometimes it does just drag.
yeah, they do this thing where they play these like old-fashioned drive-in commercials, which the first time I went, I thought that was awesome and cute and cool, but it gets a little bit annoying after a while. So, but yeah, they do pick it up now more nowadays. But yeah, I think we just kind of chilled up until the movies.
It's a pretty cool place. It's a drive-in. It's a single screen. A lot of people don't have drive-ins in their area. Like a lot of people don't. So we actually are fortunate. We have 2. We actually
one's
have
in our
one
actual town.
in our hometown. They don't do retro stuff that much, like like maybe once a year. But it's never as cool as like this place. But yeah, they do. It has 3 screens though, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's a cool one here. But this one is fun because they do the retro things. And I think the cool thing about this place is the food. They have very yummy food. Like their pizza's good. They have like pizza burgers and, cheese fries and chicken strips and all this yummy stuff.
They go all out too for this event. Like they have their basic drive-in snacks, but then they always have a specialty menu that's usually pretty bomb. It's not
this
like
year didn't,
cheap tasting and gross or anything.
I don't know if this year had a specialty thing. I know that the next year, I'll talk about what they did there when we get to there. But yeah, it was actually, yeah, they did. They had a funnel cake that was had cherry stuff, like cherry syrup on it or something for the vampire theme. I remember that now. But yeah, the first title was Monster Squad, 1987. It was vampire themes this night.
Yes. And I actually honestly had never seen any of these movies before, which is crazy. Yeah, it is. Because I've now, at this point, seen them multiple times. Besides Monster Squad, actually. That was a first time watch. It was an only time watch, and I wasn't too into it. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I was not too into that one.
We didn't pay a ton of attention because we were having fun and just bullshitting and stuff like that. But yeah, the Monster Squad, it's a fun movie. I've never loved it like other people do, but I didn't see it when I was a kid either. But April 30th, 2016, Monster Squad led off the night. What did we see after that?
We saw The Lost Boys, that was probably my favorite one to watch. I thought it was great, fun movie, and that's become a movie that I really enjoy. I've seen that multiple times at this point. But that's actually, it started downpouring for the rest of the night, unfortunately, from Lost Boys on.
Yeah, and those of you who haven't been in a drive-in, it's like a pain because the windows fog and you have to turn the car on every 2 seconds.
Yeah, and you have to gather all your stuff, throw it back in the car, and just, when you have a group of 4, it's extra sucky because then they're in the back seat. But
also, it's normally cold as F by the time it hits 9 p.m. Because it is still April, and it is cold here in the Northeast. But yeah, so the Lost Boys, I remember actually paying attention to this one pretty decently. I do love the Lost Boys, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then next up we had Fright Night.
That's the one I probably paid attention to the least.
I remember paying attention to it until the halfway mark, and then I kind of fell out of it. Again, I've had multiple times to watch it again, and that's one that's also grown on me, and I enjoy it. It's not my favorite movie in the world, but I can have fun with it. I think it's a pretty decent film. But yeah, honestly, this year in particular, since there was 4 of us, I think we were doing a lot of talking and laughing, and also it was raining, so we probably weren't paying great attention to these films, but it was a fun time. Fright Night was a cool one, even though, I didn't pay full attention to it.
Yeah. I've seen Fright Night a bunch of times. It wasn't like I hadn't seen it before, but yeah, I didn't pay a ton of attention to it. And then we finished off with Near Dark, 1987. And this was actually incredibly fun for me because I do love Near Dark. And I was very into it while watching it. And I do remember, like, couldn't wait to, like, leave and go home and go to sleep, though, because it was still, like, an hour drive back. So, yeah, we like, hauled ass out of there, like we do every time that it's over. But, yeah, I know that I don't think you paid attention a ton to this one, but I was pretty into it.
Yeah, I didn't up until the end. I enjoyed the end, how it's, like, kind of paralleled real life, since this was probably, I feel like this was the latest one that we've ever been to,
too,
as far as
daylight. I remember it was getting daylight.
And in Near Dark, of course, it's kind of like the same type of vibe. And we started driving away, like, before the credits even rolled, you were like, it's over, go. But I enjoyed that. I just realized all these movies were from 87 besides Fright Night.
That is weird.
Yeah. But yeah, that was, all in all, a pretty fun experience.
There was another night. See, back then we only went one night, and sometimes we only go one night. But that was the night before or after was Zombies. It was like I know Night of the Living Dead 90 was on there, but I don't remember what else was.
Me neither. They all had like similar titles, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so then we didn't see anything else until September of that year, and we went back to the drive-in, the same drive-in, because they do a September show too. The September show is never our favorite, but yeah, dude, this one, I remember it was just me and you at first, and I remember that it was actually like semi-nice out that night.
That's the thing that sucks. Like the September one, you can actually wear like short sleeves too, and it's really nice. But the movies and it's almost October, so it's almost Halloween time. But the movies they play are never the ones I'm really thrilled for. I almost wish they would like switch that up sometimes. But
yeah,
whatever.
They tend to play like crappier movies or like ones from the 70s or 60s or 50s, and it just depends really. Like sometimes it's good stuff, sometimes it's bad stuff. Like the start, Horror of the Zombies, which is one of the Blind Dead films. I think, is it the Ghost Gal? Is it the Seagulls one or the Ghost Galleon?
It's the Ghost Galleon.
Yeah, I actually really liked that movie. I did really like that one. It was very creepy, and it was like great for outdoor, like creepy drive-in stuff. But then like Night of the Howling Beast was next, and I don't really remember much about it. Do you?
No, I didn't even remember the title of these movies other than House of Psychotic Women, because I remember watching that one and thinking like, wow, this really sucks. So, yeah.
So those three. House of Sight or Night of Howling Beast, I don't remember too much about.
Was that like that wasn't like a Wolfman-y type movie, was it?
Yeah, I think it was actually.
It was kind of okay. Yeah, I remember it briefly, like bits and pieces, but not enough to tell you a
I want to
full
say
review.
These were Spanish movies.
That was the theme that night, I believe.
Yeah,
I think.
I do remember that. The guy that we were mentioning did show up there for like the third movie.
Oh my god, yeah, now I remember that.
Yeah, and we left. We just went. He just got there and we just left after that.
Yeah, and then yeah.
He thought he was like gonna be like edgy all of a sudden and smoke weed, which he was like very against for a long time. But he just started doing it out of nowhere. Like, I think because I told stories of me, like, smoking weed when I was younger, and you probably laughed at it or something, so he's like, maybe I should smoke weed now, you know what I mean?
Honestly,
he was, like, obsessed with you.
Yeah, it was, obviously I remember the events that took place that night, but I forgot it was at that drive-in. It seems so long ago now, but, yeah, so we ended up going back to my place to, smoke his weed. And, it was like, it was horrible from then on out. We kind of just sat on the couch, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, this guy is gonna, like, molest me or something.
Yeah,
And
I got really stoned, honestly, and I was, like, just sitting there laughing. I think he was, like, trying to sing or something. It was really bad. But I just kept wanting him to talk because it meant I didn't have to talk.
Mhm.
And I just remember it kept getting later and later. It was like 6 a.m. and I could tell you wanted to go to bed. I could tell I wanted to go home. I could tell he wanted to sit on your couch for 6 more hours. And I basically had to, I kept trying to like drop the hint, like, yeah, we better get on going, and he's all like,
I don't want to hold you up.
yeah, like he's like basically saying like, oh, go ahead, I'll stay here. And I could tell Carly didn't want that. So I eventually was just like, bro, listen, you're coming with me. Like she wants to go to freaking bed. And drug him out of the house. And I remember standing out in like the sunlight, like coming up. It was like all foggy and stuff. And I was like, dude, you have to take a hint, man. Like I gave him like a big pep talk about like taking a hint and things like that. And then I drove home scared as F because it was foggy and I was still messed up, and I just like did I even have a license? I don't even think I had a license. I don't even know. Did I have a license?
Yeah, you had your you had your license.
Oh,
before.
I had it for like 1 month. Or no, it was like
I thought you got it like October. I thought that was like 2015 when you first got it, because I remember being like, you were like, I just got my license yesterday, and I still wasn't really friends with you at that time. You were just like a person I talked to, and I was like, what?
Yeah, maybe it was then. Okay, so I had it for like a year or something, but I wasn't that experienced at driving, and I was scared. It was so foggy. I kept thinking that I got off on a wrong turn and I would have a heart attack. But yeah, that's the most notable thing of that night.
Yep, not the movies, just the events that transpired. But yeah, moving along here.
We discovered something. We discovered that there was another theater that did retro movies.
That we did, and it changed our lives for the better, and that's how. And since then, we've seen like hundreds of movies, not hundreds, but
Yeah.
How did we even figure that out? I wonder. Were you looking at events on Facebook?
I know how. I just remembered it. We went around this time, like the week before or something, like September 14th or something, to go see Rob Zombie's 31 at this theater. And
yeah.
It was the only place it was playing, and it was like this one night Fathom thing. So we went there, and in the lobby there was a paper that showed a list of titles that were happening in September and October at this theater, like retro movies. And then we found out that this theater does a classic movie night every Wednesday. So every Wednesday they show something of retro. So most of the time it's not horror, but sometimes it's horror, and we try to go to all the horror ones. But we miss some of them just because A, scheduling conflicts, B, like sometimes we're just really drained and aren't up to it. We try not to let that happen, but sometimes it does happen where we both just don't really feel like it. Sometimes we have stuff going on or whatever, but the first one that we seen on there was the very next weekend. It was The Shining.
Yeah, that's crazy. 31 was the first movie we saw there, and this was another one of those things where I was terrified to drive there, and now that drive is pretty freaking easy, besides, sometimes there's high traffic, but other than that, it's a very, very simple drive for us. It's rather far away, but it's just crazy to think. I was scared to drive out there because it's more close to Pittsburgh area, and that sketches me out. But yeah, so we saw The Shining 1980
on the big screen. This was digital, by the way. Everything else was 35 millimeter up until this.
Yeah, and that one, I consider that my favorite horror movie of all time, so I was really pumped to see it on the big screen. Now it's weird because since that was so long ago, I don't have like a significant memory of it, honestly. Like there's other ones on this list where I feel like I had like better memory of them or it was like a better event, but I did enjoy it. It's one of those things where stuff I didn't notice before, like little details such as the boy having the chocolate ice cream on his face when he's talking and he's eating the ice cream. And I actually never, I know everyone knows about this, but I never noticed that Wendy's cigarette needed ashed severely in that one scene. So,
Yeah.
cool stuff like that I remember from the film, but that was awesome to see on the screen. It makes everything more chilling, I would say. Like just all the music
Mhm.
cues and everything just seems so much scarier. Even going back to like Titanic, that's a movie I never really got emotional about. I kind of thought it was dumb, but I like cried through so much of that film, and it's because it was on the big screen. And that's kind of like with The Shining. It's just everything just seems so much scarier, even though I've seen it a million times. So that's pretty cool. I know you're not as huge on The Shining, but you like it as a film, but it's not one of your
Yeah,
favorites.
I like it as a movie. I think it's, cinematically amazing, but I'm just not the hugest fan. But I did appreciate it watching it on the big screen more than I had in the past, just because like you really get to take in Kubrick's vision and like even the opening shot, it looks so great on the massive screen.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was a good time. There was a few other things that were playing during that time, like Halloween and a couple of things that we didn't end up getting to. But we did return to the theater for one other during that time span. But first, we found another theater that we fell in love with, which we will talk about its tragic end later. But it was a theater called the Hollywood Theater.
Yes.
And this is
And
more like in Pittsburgh.
hmm yeah, it's legit like right outside of Pittsburgh in this it's called Dormont is the town and it was in this like weird little cool area that I really enjoyed too. That was one of those places where I always needed a GPS to get to no matter what, and we did get lost once or twice,
Oh,
and
the one time we got lost, it was very scary.
we were almost on like the, classic bright tunnels to Pittsburgh. It was intense, but yeah, that theater was awesome. It just it focused on old stuff. It was from the 20s, I believe. It was a classic theater,
Yeah,
one screen theater.
yeah, it was like they had been around for like 100 years.
Hmm.
And it's a one screen theater. I love the inside of it.
Hmm.
The historical like posters all over the place, and it was like home to us. Like it felt like home when we found that place. And the first film we ever saw there was Phantasm 1979. And dude, I don't know about you. Um, it was the new transfer, like the new 4K transfer or something. But that is one of my favorite theatrical experiences ever.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one I think about even to this day with all the stuff we've seen. That's the one I always kind of go back to in my mind. Not only because Phantasm is one of my favorite movies as well, but just the whole crowd that was there was just so into it. They were you could tell everyone there was a hardcore fan of Phantasm, which I don't know why you would be there if you weren't. And it's just like anytime like a funny line was said, everyone would laugh, and then like, just all the appreciative sounds and stuff like that. It was just amazing, and the transfer was amazing as well. And Phantasm, I just love Phantasm. I think it's a fantastic movie. It's in my top 5 movies of all time, and yeah, I fell in love with the theater, fell right back in love with Phantasm, and just all the people there. I just felt like that's why it felt so homey. It felt like you were with true fans when you were there.
Yeah, so from somebody who had seen Phantasm in this type of setting before, because I had seen it on 35 millimeter with my cousins,
Hmm.
this was a completely different experience. It was so much funner. It was just like, one, I was actually in company of people who were just as in love with the movie. And it was actually pretty cool because the next week or like next couple weeks or something, they were showing Phantasm 5 for the very first time. It was like a premiere. And, we went to that too. That was disappointing, but at the same time, seeing Phantasm beforehand, knowing Phantasm 5 was like in a week or two, was awesome. And yeah, I had a blast watching Phantasm. It was definitely, out of all these experiences, it's probably near the top for me.
Yep, completely agree. I remember even going to see Phantasm 5 and standing out. That was another thing, like the line to get in to see I forget if it was Phantasm or Phantasm 5. There was actually a line of people outside waiting to get in because they were, everyone was pumped.
I think we
that was pretty
a little
cool.
scared, or did we buy tickets ahead of time? I don't remember.
I think we might have. I'm pretty sure we bought them ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right,
did we go to the gyro place that time next door?
I don't know if we did that time. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, there was a pretty cool gyro place next door, too, that I appreciated. But anyway, to move along here.
Yeah, the next one, we went back to the waterfront, which is the one where we saw The Shining at, and we saw Psycho. Is that the only time we've seen Psycho, or does it pop back up on this list?
That's the only time.
Man, it feels more recent than that. It's weird.
I know. But, yeah, Psycho, that's another one, that I grew up watching, and, I love the movie. That was another pretty good experience. I don't remember it super vividly. We definitely
went with someone. I just don't remember who.
No, I think we saw that one. I don't think we did.
You sure?
We went to see the one that we have coming up next with people, but Psycho I specifically remember it was just you and me. Like I actually remember because we sat in the like front row for that one for some reason. We used to sit up front in that theater back when
I still like
you didn't
sitting
have to
up
pick
front every once in a while.
Yeah, but
yeah,
that was another
Psycho,
good one.
Yeah, that was awesome seeing it on the big screen. There's not much to say besides it was just cool.
It was Psycho.
Yeah. What did we see next? That was the last one of 2016.
Yeah, and then bringing up January 18th, 2017, we went back to the good old waterfront and we saw The Thing from 1982.
Yeah, and we had people with us on that one, right?
Yes. Now, this is one of the ones I'll just say ahead of time we've seen multiple times. I believe we had two people. No, I don't remember. But yeah, we did. I think we've always had people with us when we went to see The Thing. But yeah, The Thing. This is a movie that I know is one of JP's favorites of all time. I had quote unquote seen it once by myself at home for the first time, and I just didn't get into it. I didn't pay attention to it, rather.
Wait, is this
as I should have.
Do we have John Spispato with us?
That's what I was gonna say. I know we went with him and our other friend Matt at one point. I don't remember if it was this time or the next year that we went to see it, though.
Gotcha.
2017. Yeah, you know what? It probably was this time. But
gotcha.
Yeah. So we ate at Burgatory,
and I tried to order off the kids menu.
Yeah, and she made you feel like a fool.
Oh, dude, that was really embarrassing. I didn't, dude. They shouldn't name their food like Chicky Nugs or something.
Chicken nuggies. And then like we always get the fork it, and it's like, yeah, I'll have a fork it. I think John like asked for something too, and it was like something embarrassing happened there too, and it was just a train wreck. But the food's pretty good there. I enjoy that place. But yeah, The Thing. Watching it in the theater, I gained appreciation for it. It's still not like up there as one of my favorites, but there's no denying to me now that it is a 10 out of 10 film. It's just not one that I really watch alone on my own time like other people do. Like I enjoy going to see it in the theater anytime it comes around, but it's not one that I like to rewatch a whole lot for whatever reason. But it is a perfect movie, I will say.
Yeah, well, you need to get into gear with that. I remember you watching it and then like you not really paying attention to it, and then when you saw it in the theater, you were like, okay, yeah, that is a great movie.
Yeah, and I'm fake, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I just it was all right, but I actually didn't pay attention to it that one time, so
Yeah.
I've changed.
What happened after that? April 29th, 2017.
Yes. This was our second, or I guess third drive-in. It was my second April Goals Day, and I guess your third. And did we go to? Yeah, we went to both nights on this. Oh yeah, this was whenever we got the hotel, and I ruined the trip. But yeah. So the lineup for these these two nights was pretty cool.
This one we actually did something different, and we got a hotel in like a completely another town that was like kind of even far away. Town of like Indiana. And we just like our plan was to just like explore that town, you know, take the weekend, and explore that town, sort of go to like the pawn shops and stuff. But unfortunately, you got like a little bit sick, so it kind of wasn't really that fun. But we still had fun watching the movies.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely nice to, you know, get a hotel, and we come to find there's really not a lot to do in the town that we were staying in, or really the town that the drive-in is in, but there was a decent amount of pawn shops, so that was fun. I remember we went to like, the one up by, there was a mall, pretty crappy mall, Indiana Mall, definitely like a dead mall, but, yeah, so there was a Goodwill as well and stuff like that. But so that was
we
that
actually
was fun
did
for the
get
most part.
some titles at the Goodwill, I think, right?
Yes, I remember I picked up Big Trouble in Little China, which I still have not watched. It's just been kind of chilling in my collection.
Candyman, Lord of Illusions, a couple of things.
I think I ended up with Candyman too, and the pawn shop we went to as well. That's where I actually just talked about in the last podcast. I picked up that Christina's House movie as well as Patrick, a pretty good film, Australian film on DVD. And so that's cool. I enjoy exploring places, especially when it's in new territory. But yeah, to get into the movies, the first movie of night one was The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, 1986.
Yeah, that was really cool to see on the big screen because we love that movie. And this time they had a special, I think, tacos. They had tacos this time, and they were huge. I remember I got one, and I was like, wow, this thing is like a damn burrito, but it's a taco. It was big.
Yeah, they were pretty good. They also had, like, random stuff to go with the theme as well, like chili, which I don't really want to get chili at the drive-in, but that, you know, that's always cool. But yeah, TCM2, another one of my favorites. Enjoyed watching that one. Then next up was Motel Hell.
Which I'm not a huge fan of, honestly. I've never, like, the first time I seen it, I was like so excited for it because everybody talks about how cool Motel Hell is and how awesome it is, and I never liked it. And you know, then I saw it at this drive-in, and I was like, yeah, it was cool, I guess, but I'm still not a huge fan.
Yeah, I barely really paid attention. That was probably the one I least paid attention to at this drive-in because I could not get into it, and I've never seen that movie just like on my own time. I've only seen it at drive-ins, oddly enough, and it's just not one that I feel like watching on my own time because I thought it just seemed a little too hokey and silly for me. But then after that, we had Drink Your Blood from 1970.
Which I really ended up enjoying. I thought that movie was really fun.
I liked it as well, I remember. It was a little weird, and I remember it having like a gross dinner time scene.
It had like meat pies or something.
And they were, I almost want to puke just thinking about it. Just, I hate the sound of people chewing, and I hate watching them chew, and the whole scene focused on close-ups of them chewing, and I think there was something sketchy with it, like there was blood in the pies, or ugh, it just makes me,
Yeah.
just meat pie makes me sick too. I feel like gagging right now, but yeah, I remember enjoying that one.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is I've wanted to own that. There's a Grindhouse releasing put out a Blu-ray of that, like a 3-discer or something that I've been wanting forever, but I still haven't got. Got to pick that up one day before it goes out of dang print. But yeah, because I really enjoyed that movie because that was the only one of night one that that was the only one I hadn't seen in all 8 movies. So yeah, I wanted to. That one ended up being fun.
Yeah. Then after that, we had Deranged: Confessions of a Necrophile,
Which
1974.
Is a Ed Gein film, and it's actually I think one of the first films Tom Savini ever did effects on. But yeah, that I love that movie. That movie's awesome, and it was a great ender to the night. I think that movie kicks ass.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I don't remember it a ton, but I enjoyed it as well. Pretty good lineup for that night, number 1. And number 2 as well.
Yeah, so the very next night we come back after going to that hotel and staying. And I remember I woke up like way too early.
Yeah.
I think it was because it was our first time staying there because anytime we've done that since, I've like slept way longer.
Yeah.
But woke up way too early. We went to a Chinese restaurant and it was like okay. But yeah, then we explored the town a little bit, then went back to the drive-in. And the first film was Child's Play 1988. And I remember just this great, awesome feeling. It was like cold out, but we like had layers on and like we were sitting out and it was like kind of windy. It was just like the perfect night for a drive-in.
Mm-hmm. And Child's Play, I really enjoyed seeing that on the big screen. Yeah, that was a good time. I actually forgot the gentleman we keep bringing up showed up to this drive-in as well with his like lame friend and then our friend Matt, and they like sat in their rape
there was
van.
A lame friend. I thought you were talking about Matt at first. I'm like, hey, he might be listening to this.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's why. Well, that was actually pretty rude because I think Matt's friends with that guy too. But so sorry if Matt listens to this. But
it was more of a diss on Fred than anybody.
Wait, what's? Yeah. But yeah, and they just kind of like sat in their rape van. That was kind of the final end of that. I guess you could say friendship.
Yeah.
When you could. I think that was like right before a bunch of things hit the fan.
Yep, it was like 2 months before.
Legit, yeah, and you could tell everything was wrong. But so that was great. But to get back to the movies, the next one was Black Christmas, and of course from 1974. That movie was one I still like. It's not one of my favorites. I think it's just kind of slow at times for me, and I don't get super into it. But I will say this drive-in experience watching it, because I've seen it multiple times at this point, and I think that was my best experience ever watching the movie based on the atmosphere alone. The print wasn't that great, but I think that also kind of added to the atmosphere. It made it look really old, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I think I fell asleep a little bit during that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was April and we're watching like a Christmas horror movie, but I enjoyed it. It gave me chills a few times throughout it, and yeah, I really liked it. And I really liked the next one we saw too, which was a first time watch for me. Probably my favorite one, and that was Madman 1981.
Yeah, that was fun seeing it in the drive-in. It was like perfect because it's set out in the woods and stuff like that. And this drive-in is like surrounded by woods. It's like kind of in the middle of nowhere. So, that was actually really cool seeing Madman. And then, we didn't. Did you want to say anything else about Madman?
It made it really creepy, and it made me enjoy Madman. I know it's a lower tier slasher, and most people are like, it's all right, but I really like Madman because of that experience. But yeah, and then there was a fourth feature that we decided to bounce beforehand.
Yeah, it was Trick or Treat, the one with Sammy Kerr, which I do like that movie a lot. But I had just watched it, I believe, for our Halloween show or something like that year or the year before or something. And we were like, I was like dead tired from waking up way too early at that hotel and spending the whole day like driving around and walking around and then sitting around. We were just kind of exhausted. So we watched 7 out of the 8 features, which was pretty good. That was the most we ever watched up until that time. And then June 21st, we watched a non-horror movie. It's my favorite movie of all time, so I made you go to this. You had never seen it, but it is 1985's The Goonies. The one thing that I remember about this is I kept like saying like how awesome like everything was, and you're like, yeah. And then some chick, some like hot mom was like, no, listen to him. He's right. This movie is awesome. Remember?
Oh, yeah, and I remember now. I didn't remember. No, I didn't remember that, so that's interesting. And then you saying it brought it back to my memory.
She's like, no, he's completely right. Like, I remember her like being like, yeah, like listen to this guy. He knows what's up.
And then I pimp slapped her. Just kidding. But no, yeah, The Goonies. Unfortunately, I did not grow up watching that, so it's one of those things where it's not as special to my heart as it is for a lot of people. I can see why people like it because it's another childhood adventure film, and I like movies like that, so it's weird that I'm not as into it as everyone else. I've seen that one a few times too now, and actually I watched this back in like school, but I think it was one of those things where it was right before like school was about to let out for a holiday and a class was just playing it and we never actually finished it. So yeah, I kind of watched The Goonies before, kind of didn't. And even back then I remember all the kids in the class were like, yeah, The Goonies, and they were all excited to watch it, and I'm sitting there like, why? I've never seen this movie before.
I'm surprised they let you watch that because they cuss.
Yeah, I forget. I think it was in middle school too. So yeah, I remember, you know, when Corey Feldman's character first comes in, he's like, the one kid looking out the SHIT word, since we're not allowed to say this on this podcast apparently, was said, and everyone's like, ha ha ha. And then there's of course that part with the penis statue, and I was even sitting there like, wow, I can't believe we're watching this in school. But yeah, Goonies, not nostalgic for it, I guess, but don't deny it's a good movie.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite. So after that,
Jaws.
Yeah, I remember this because I was in a really bad mood. I was super depressed.
Oh, okay. I was about to say I thought that was the last time we went to see it, but yes, this was. Geez, this whole thing has become like a timeline of that toxic friend we had.
Yeah,
but
basically that friend we had wrote a letter to our corporate office where we used to work together, and basically like threw me and a couple other managers under the bus and drug Carly into it, and became like this huge, like depressing thing. And I was real worried about it, and turns out I shouldn't have been at all, because like pretty much like our corporate office was like laughing and didn't care, and like already like respected it and trusted us and didn't even know this dude. So they took our side, and it was, but at the time I was super stressed about it, and it like depressed me. I felt betrayed because I had no idea this was coming. And it really just stemmed from jealousy of our friendship, because the dude had a major crush on you.
yeah, like the letter he wrote I could see why they just didn't take it serious, because it had the most ridiculous accusation. Like, this dude was like a 30-year-old virgin, so didn't he write like, oh, you know, Carly and Justin, they spend a lot of times in the rooms. One might wonder what they're doing in there. Like,
yeah, but then he also said the same thing about you and your gay friend.
Yeah, my obviously like super gay friend who's super open and proud about it and like will actually talk about like banging guys in front of you. So, yeah, he was trying to like pretty much allude to the fact that we were in the rooms either making out or just straight up banging within like, you know, a 5 minute, I guess 5 minutes at a time. Like he thought we were going into each room and just doing that, but you know. Anyway, Jaws though, I love Jaws. I've come to love Jaws from seeing it in the theater multiple times. So I had a good time.
The fun thing about seeing this in the theater was those guys who dress up like the characters from Jaws.
Yes, there is a crew of people who dress up like the three guys, and then they have one guy dress up like the shark, and they pretty much, I think they come to every year to see Jaws, so it's pretty awesome. People take pictures with them and everything, and fun times. What can you say about Jaws? It's classic material, great film.
Yeah, this was the week before July 4th, perfect time to check it out. Unfortunately, I was just super depressed during that. I didn't really enjoy it. I actually fell asleep. I remember.
Oh yeah,
that's where the joke came from, like you slept through all of Jaws.
Oh yeah, that's an old joke that we haven't brought up in a while. But
yeah, because I haven't asleep.
Well, I was gonna say I haven't brought it up in a while because you went on to then sleep at a lot of other movies too. But nowadays, yes, I agree. To defend you, you have not fell asleep in a while. So.
Yeah, but I fell asleep through some. No, it wasn't all of it. I fell asleep through some scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was good. Good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then some time passed, and we didn't get back out there. That was at the waterfront. Those last two, by the way. Also at the waterfront, August 4th, 2017. Maybe the earliest film or the latest film on this entire list, I think, could be. That's 2007's The Mist.
Yeah, and pretty much they played that because the guy who runs the events, it's like he mentioned it was one of his favorite Stephen King adaptations or favorite movies ever or something like that. So he kind of was the originator of it. Unfortunately, you know, it's The Mist, and I guess
nobody showed up, dude. It was too new, I think. That's the reason.
I agree. Like, there was probably like 3 other groups in the theater, if that's with us. So I did feel bad about that. You could
tell he was really bummed. He's like, because sometimes he'll get on mic and talk beforehand. Sometimes they even have like trivia and stuff, which is cool. But he was like, I was expecting a little bit more of a show out. Felt bad for that dude. Because I think he had just taken over for the other dude, too, around that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's like dropped the ball there. But, you know, The Mist, it's a great film, but I could see people not showing up because they probably just saw it in the theater 10 years prior. So, yeah, but that's a good one. What can you say? Another great film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Mist is one of my favorites. After that, we go back to September, back to the drive-in. This is for the September show at the Riverside Drive-In, the Monsterama. And the September show is the original show. Like, that existed first, which is more of like monster. It started as like monster movies and then kind of goes into different stuff. But the April one is more like 80s and 70s classic horror, while these ones are more like B movies or like monster movies. But this actually might be the best one for me.
I'd probably agree.
It started off with The Tingler, which was awesome. You know, William Castle. It's one of those films that like has a gimmick. It's like the Tingler is stop in the middle of the movie, and it's like the Tingler is loose in this theater. Scream, you know, to like, because like the Tingler, that's the only way you could stop the Tingler is by like screaming. And you just hear all these screams from like all these different spots in the woods. It was pretty cool. I dug that. And then Monster Go Home from '66. Man, that was fucking. Oops. That started off good and just got horrible for me.
I completely agree. And I was actually really disappointed because I watched the Munsters quite a bit when I was a kid, and I thought they were hilarious, and I actually thought the start of the movie had some pretty good, funny moments, but they just, I don't know. I see people say they like this movie, and that whole car, what is it, like a car race or something that happens? It feels like it's 50 minutes of the movie, which I'm sure it's not actually as long as I remember it, but I just wasn't into it at all, and I was sad because I was looking forward to the film. I thought I would enjoy it.
Yeah, when it was like the monsters in their house and stuff, it was fun, and then it got sucky.
Yeah.
But after that, we have Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. I've always liked that movie.
Yeah, I don't remember that one a ton, besides there being a 50-foot woman.
Yeah, I've seen it before, so I half paid attention to it, but I'd seen it before, so. And then the last one was Creature from the Black Lagoon, and that one was awesome.
Yes.
I love Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I would like to watch that one. Oh, I have that Blu-ray set that you gave me, and I haven't rewatched it, but I would like to rewatch it because that was the one and only time I had actually ever seen it before.
Yeah, it looked really good on the big screen, honestly. And then we went and seen. So there was that was September, and then October. Wow, we really didn't do much in that October season of 2017.
Yeah, I guess not. I remember that was the year that we did a few things. That was the year that we did go and see Victor Crowley and all that. But as far as retro,
that was really
stuff.
fun.
Yeah, retro stuff. We did nothing.
We got to see Friday the 13th in October on Friday the 13th. It was great. I loved that. Like, that's the first time I truly loved the original Friday the 13th, because I've always been a sequel guy with those. But yeah, I loved watching it. The like atmosphere and like the sounds of the woods and like the rain and stuff just worked so well for me.
Yeah, I'm a part one guy myself with Friday the 13th, so I had a great time. I've come to find that's actually my favorite one. I know people think that's crazy, but it's all that rainy atmosphere just seems so miserable to be in, and then to top it off, you have someone killing everybody. So, yeah, I had a good time with that one.
Yeah, it was awesome. Then we went and seen A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, this is probably my second, up there with Phantasm, favorite theatrical experience. We saw Elm Street on 35mm at the Hollywood Theater, and I just freaking fell in love with it. Like, I've always loved the movie, but seeing it on 30, like, I actually it was a very scratchy print, but it worked for me so well. I loved this sitting.
Yeah, I'm just not as big on the movie as you, so it's like, it was cool to see it.
I don't get it, man.
All right, we are not going to have.
It's such an amazing movie. It's so imaginative. It's so good.
I had it on the wrapping Christmas presents this past Christmas, and so I was kind of half watching it, half not. But it was weird because I was wrapping presents and I kept stopping to actually pay attention to the film. So it was weird. It was just weird to me because I thought I'm just going to throw this on and probably not pay attention. And then for some reason, the fact that I was doing other stuff while watching it made me pay more attention to it. But yeah, I guess it's all right.
Then what?
Gremlins, which I
this whole
assume
time
we saw at the
period's
waterfront.
Like a blur for me. I can't remember anything
too.
that happened during this.
I mean, I'm pretty positive we saw that at the waterfront as well, probably because they usually do Christmas-themed films, but Gremlins can be a family-friendly horror film. So
yeah, that was the waterfront.
Yeah, but Gremlins, fun movie. I was actually getting that mixed up with Goonies with the Corey Feldman thing, by the way. But yeah. Anyway.
Gremlins is an awesome one. Was that a first time watch, or had you seen it before?
I think No, that might have been the first time I watched it, because I do own the DVD and I've seen it. I think I've seen it since, but I don't think I actually watched that one before. Yeah, another one I did not grow up with.
So that wrapped up 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into 2018, which
Did
I
we?
think was our best year ever, maybe.
Probably.
Well, 2019 is our most watched year.
Yeah,
But
we pretty much kicked it into high gear these last 2 years.
yeah, yeah, because that this is our 33rd, and yeah.
That
So
says enough.
yeah, we saw Suspiria in January of 2018 at the Hollywood.
Indeed, we did. That was pretty cool, I must say. That was, didn't they had it subtitled, I remember, and the subtitles weren't always popping up at
Oh yeah,
the
because
right time.
it was
Some
in
dude,
Italy. It was in Italian. We watched it. That's right.
yeah. And I think someone was like in charge of putting the subtitles on, and sometimes it would get a little wonky, but I've seen that movie before, so I pretty much remember the dialogue from it, and I like Suspiria a lot, so that was
Yeah, we
a
went
cool
with
one to get.
Austin, right?
We did. That was a movie he had wanted to. That was like that and The Thing. He said were the top movies he would like to see in the theater, and yeah, he really had a good time with it too. I had a pretty good time with it, and I believe you did as well.
Yeah. That was a kind of a fun one to see. Then we had both something amazing and something totally weak at the same time. So, this other company like slash film thing had a John Carpenter Fest at the Hollywood. And this was such a cool thing, but it also was the beginning of the end of the Hollywood. Because another company bought the Hollywood, and basically shortly after this, it completely changed, and the whole theater got ruined. I actually commented on one of their posts the other day. I was like, what the hell happened to this theater? They probably
I haven't even
deleted
paid
it.
attention to anything they post at all, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a non-profit
it was.
theater, and they changed it into like a second run theater. So like, it's just annoying.
Yeah, like it was really all just about the heart of the people who were running it. And I remember they were trying to like do a petition to like get to keep it, and I thought like, oh, it's gonna be fine. And then it wasn't fine, and then they ended up selling it. So probably one of the most depressing things to happen, especially since we did not discover that theater obviously until so much later. It makes me wonder if they probably have done so much other cool stuff that we just were,
I still
too
look
little, too
back
late.
every once in a while, like look at their page to see if like something has changed, but it's pretty much been
Well,
the same.
like I said, it's like the people who ran it, and I believe those people still try to operate things, but they do it in like theaters that are deep into Pittsburgh that JP and I have a fear of driving to. So,
Yeah, and not only driving but parking too.
yes.
The parking
So,
is horrendous.
I'll never have city driving confidence, I don't think. Mainly based on watching other people drive in the
Mainly
city.
based on Pittsburgh too, because it's like horrible. Even people that are from like out of state come here and say like, "Oh my God, Pittsburgh's horrible."
Yeah.
But yeah, so Carpenter Fest, it was really cool because it was like almost like a mini convention too. They had like vendors there that were selling like comic books and different stuff like that. And then they had an empanada in the basement.
They had one empanada in the
had
basement.
A dude, like a
it was vegan
caterer type thing there.
Which is weird, but his food was actually pretty good.
Yeah, he had this like steak pepper empanada that was vegan. And it was really good. It honestly was. And we ate those, and we got crappy beers that were like really strong. And it was me, Carly, and Matt, our friend Matt. Austin was supposed to come with us. We bought him a ticket and everything.
Yeah, and then that did not work out, unfortunately. He was pretty bummed because The Thing, like I said, was the other film that he really wanted to see, and that was one of the features playing there. But, it is what it is. What Wait, oh yeah, we already mentioned that. I was gonna say Austin came to see Suspiria with us, but we already said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Carpenter films was a
We
pretty
had
cool lineup.
we had Dark Star here, which was I think Carpenter's like first film. It's funny how much Alien is like that movie. It's a comedy though. It's very weird, but it was fun. I just remember that scene where he's like in the elevator shaft with the like orb, basically, and that was funny.
I remember the ending the most and thinking that was just so ridiculous and funny, and the effects are like so just like cheesy. But yeah, that was a cool one to get to see. That's not something you would see every day, but
yeah. And then we seen The Thing again, which was fun.
Yeah.
Gotta love The Thing. And then They Live, which was probably the most fun for me because I really loved that movie.
Yeah, that was the first time watch for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that one's grown on me tremendously. Big fan.
And then after that, we have Prince of Darkness, aka Prince of Fake Fans who jump out of the woodwork, as you said, acting like they love Prince of Darkness all of a sudden. Because I am on your side where I think it's actually pretty lame and not much happens.
Yeah, I actually fell asleep during it. No, I went to sleep. Like, after like 30 minutes in, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm tired, and I fell asleep through most of the movie.
And I just sat there and was like, this isn't that entertaining of a movie. I wish you didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, I'd wish they picked a different Carpenter film, but you know, those four were pretty fun. February 10th of 2018. I loved the whole concept of it. I was so sad that they didn't do like another one at some point or something like that, because that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then,
so then
what happened after that?
That brings us to, once again, our drive-in, April of 2018, 28th of 2018, last weekend of April. And I'll scroll down here a little bit.
This was the one where the first night's theme was A, B, C, D, like creature features. And then I believe it was the first night, was a Tobe Hooper retrospect. And we didn't go to the Tobe Hooper one because it was like Poltergeist, Life Force, Funhouse, and the Invaders from Mars. And although I have never actually seen Poltergeist, it always seems to play everywhere, so I never feel like going to see it. And then Life Force I had zero interest in because I don't like that movie. And then the Funhouse I really wanted to see, but it was playing third. And I was like, I don't feel like sitting through those first two for that. And then Invaders from Mars I really don't care for either, so we just skipped the first night.
Yeah, I've only seen Poltergeist and the Funhouse, and I don't really love either of them, honestly. Like, Poltergeist is obviously a good movie, but not one I really run back to. I really didn't care for the Funhouse too much myself.
Oh, I like the Funhouse. That's the perfect type of title to see too, just because it's like, you know, a little bit more.
Yeah. But
so yeah, this though was awesome, dude. I loved all four of these, especially the last one and the first one. So the first title was Alligator from 1980. I was a huge fan of this growing up. I hadn't seen it in so long because it's hard to get on DVD. And saw this in the theater or at the drive-in, the Riverside again, the April Ghouls show. Awesome.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. Scary alligator roaming the streets. I thought it was, funny, entertaining, also scary at the same time because alligators are scary.
And roaming the sewers.
Yeah. But next up is a movie that I didn't remember that I saw, and I just bought on VHS, and I forgot that this is what that movie was. So that shows how much I know about it. But The Boogans.
Yep, The Boogans. And that one was, I would say, pretty fun, but probably my least favorite of the four.
I legit don't remember it at all.
Yeah, Matt was with us on this one.
Hmm.
And then after that, we had Critters, 1986, fun movie. I'm a big fan of Critters.
Yeah.
Then we had Deadly Spawn, which was my favorite of the night because I had never seen it before, and it was just like, it was like so much better than I expected. It was awesome.
Yeah, I fell asleep through like half of it, but I remember when I woke up, I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, me and Matt were like so into it. It was like such a good time. It was like,
All right, and then
I just kept laughing at everything. I was like, what the heck? The gore is really cool. It was a good time. And then actually the next title, I ended up getting stuck working.
yes, which is unfortunate, but next one was a repeat anyway, and that was Jaws once again. I actually took my friend that I've been friends with since kindergarten, Brienne, had her go with me. She was actually down because I really wanted to see it. Because I just like Jaws, and I was tempted to like go alone, but I thought I'll just ask some of my other friends, and she was down. She had never seen the film before. I think she enjoyed it from what I remember, so that's good. She wasn't like miserable. And I mean, Jaws is like, that's a movie for everyone. That's one of those ones that anyone can really watch. It's not like it's some obscure horror film. So, yeah, once again, fun time. Good old Jaws.
July 18th. Or July 2018, sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date.
Yeah, after that, it was probably like the 3rd or something.
Probably.
Then in September, we saw Fright Night.
Yeah.
At the...
You have AMC, but I think it was just the Waterfront.
It was the Waterfront.
Again, yeah. But, yeah, Fright Night, that's when it kind of grew on me a little bit more. Pretty good, pretty good movie. There's some scenes I could like do without, like the whole dancing scene.
Yeah, that scene goes on way too long. I felt the same about Fright Night. It's the last couple times I've seen it, pretty much felt the same.
Yeah.
Then we venture back to the Riverside Drive-In for their September show, which we only went one night for. And we stayed for 3 movies. The Curse of the Werewolf, which I actually ended up liking. That one was pretty good.
I don't remember any of these.
Yeah, I remember there's like a rape. And then 1 Million BC, which I had seen before. Not a horror movie at all, really. I had seen that before. It was kind of boring, honestly. I didn't really pay attention to it that much.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like these September shows, I barely pay attention ever. So I can't really say much on them.
And then the Gorgon, which I have seen before. I paid attention to that one. That one's actually pretty cool. It's basically a Medusa story where people turn to stone. I enjoy that movie.
Then after that,
yeah, go ahead. My throat's
just
hurting.
just a few days, or yeah, a little while later in September, we saw Dracula 1931. That honestly is my favorite Universal monster movie. I know people think, it's the first one. It's kind of boring. There's not much going on in it. The reason I like it so much is the atmosphere alone. I think it has the eeriest atmosphere, and with it being so old, it just kind of adds to it, and just the sound, like there's no music in the movie, which made it I hate seeing movies like that in a theater because you feel like you can't eat your popcorn to really do much because you don't want to make noise because the film is so silent until they're talking. But I don't know, it just adds to it. You just hear the the creatures of the night and whatnot, and so I enjoyed it. Much like all other movies from that time period, it ends pretty abruptly, but I don't know, I enjoyed it. I know most people would pick any other Universal film over that, but it's whatever.
I like a lot of them over that. I like Creature from Black Lagoon better. I like Frankenstein, a couple of the Frankensteins better. as well as my favorite, The Invisible Man.
I feel.
But yeah, I did
But
like seeing it in the theater. It was very moody and
yeah,
atmospheric.
yeah.
And that was at the waterfront. They did like sort of a vampire theme.
That they did. And to follow up on that, about a week or two, I think it was like 2 weeks later, we saw Vampires from 1998. That was
John Carpenter.
John Carpenter. Oddly enough, I've seen a lot of John Carpenter films in the theater or drive-in at this point, but I have not seen Halloween 78, and you have seen it twice. So, but yeah, Vampires, that was the first time watch for me as well, and I had a pretty fun time with it from what I remember. I didn't think it was the best, but I certainly didn't think it was bad either. I thought it was actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
But
I actually dug it. I rewatched it for Duncan's show last summer, and I didn't like it as much. But yeah, I really liked it when we saw it in the theater. It was cool.
yeah.
And then this was like something that was very weird because the Hollywood was pretty much dead at this point, but they did this. Another company came in and did these like retro screenings, which by the way, nobody showed up for. They were happening in other parts of the world too. Jeremy had them, and the first show sold so poorly that basically they canceled all the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up going to 3 out of the 4, I believe.
Yeah, and yeah, going back to the Hollywood was pretty depressing because all the posters were gone and the place was just being run by like some teenage girl who didn't care about anything. And, like you said, there was no one there where usually there would be a million people there because they supported the people who ran it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was depressing. But,
we
yeah,
were
on this
actually
night,
late.
Yeah. No, that was the second night.
The second one? Okay, never mind then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we were like were we like the only people in there for this?
I think so. Yeah, this one in particular, which was The House on Sorority Row, 1983. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I think we sat like in the front row, just for the heck of it. But yeah, it was just sad. We can say we're like the only people in the world pretty much to get to see that, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, and then next week, this one I enjoyed a little bit better. This is what we are late to, unfortunately, but they played a double feature of Amityville: The Evil Escapes and Amityville 1992. It's About Time. And yeah, we showed up.
That was really cool, man. That was super fun.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, we showed up late, and the lady was like, "Oh, you guys are the only one in there," and it was already playing, I think. Mm-hmm. But then 2 other people came in also later than us, so that was kind of weird. But
yeah. So they were just playing the Amityville: The Evil Escapes in an empty theater.
To no one, yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty depressing, but I enjoyed the double feature. That's where I first saw Amityville 4, of course. I mentioned that earlier, and I thought it was pretty fun. Amityville 92 was also fun. I didn't like that one as much, but it was just a cool little double feature that I didn't expect to like as much because I thought they were going to be crappy movies and hard to pay attention to, but they're actually pretty fun. So
yeah, they were fun. I had a blast with those, and I felt like we could laugh, fall loud, and be like obnoxious because we were really the only people in there besides the people up on the balcony.
Yeah, and we were given free Twizzlers too, so that's a plus.
Oh yeah, we were given free Twizzlers. They were expiring.
They sure were.
But then we went back for one more week, and that was Sweet 16, 1983. The movie's not that great. We actually left early because we were starving, and the movie wasn't that great. But I did go and finish the movie when I got home. It was all right.
Yeah, I just remember not a lot was really happening in it, and the girl looked like she was actually like 28 and not 16. But yeah, I think we were in great moods that night, and we were hungry, so we ended up just like bouncing to go to the gyro place, and that was the end of the Hollywood theater for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then we went back to the waterfront for, this was actually not a classic movie nights. This was like a third party came in and hosted this. And it was like a satanic panic type thing, or something. I forget what they called it. But it was a double feature on the same night. And it was It's Alive, 1974, and The Exorcist, 1973.
Yeah, and it was actually in two separate theaters too. You had to walk to the other one after the first movie was over, which they played The Exorcist went first, and then It's Alive. Two completely different movies, but it actually really worked as a double feature. That was probably one of my favorite experiences as well, in as far as theaters go. Because The Exorcist is really more of a serious, straight-up horror film, and then It's Alive is a bit more obviously ridiculous.
Yeah,
so
but
I
still
actually
kind
thought
of
they worked.
scary in a way.
Yeah, for sure. But I thought it was a pretty cool pairing, honestly. I would like to. They were doing other events as well, but we didn't get to go to them, I think.
Yeah, they were in like other theaters, like kind of further away. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed both of those. It's Alive in particularly, I've never seen it before all the way through. I've seen like clips of it when I was a kid on TV, but on
And
like
we,
Joe Bob.
yeah, and we won stuff at this too. I think you won like earbuds, and I won like a speaker.
Headphones, yeah. But yeah,
Cool.
that was a really fun. That was a very fun time. I really enjoyed that. I liked the people hosting it. It was like a good seats, good view, fun double feature. I really liked that. And seeing The Exorcist, which is a classic that was probably needed to be seen, was cool too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. This is like my third or fourth favorite theatrical experience that we had. That double feature. Double features are cool in general, especially in the theater.
Yeah.
Then couple days later, we saw Nightmare on Elm Street again at this time at the waterfront, on digital, I believe.
Which I forgot all about.
Yeah, so this was October 17th, 2018.
hmm But yeah, I really don't remember even seeing it at the waterfront that well.
No?
No. But the funny thing about that is, next up were a double feature I actually saw without JP. I think he had to work or something, and it was our friend Matt and our other friend Stephanie. It was an impromptu thing where they wanted to go to it. It was actually at the drive-in that we mentioned that's in our hometown that doesn't really play throwback movies, but this October they decided to do a double feature of A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. So I've seen freaking A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 times and Friday the 13th twice, but that was cool. They played Nightmare on Elm Street first. The snack bar, I remember, took forever to get our food, so the movie was already kind of playing by the time we actually got out to sit at our car. And I didn't really mind though, because I prefer Friday the 13th, and that was the second feature. And yeah, cool double feature. Friday the 13th, it was cool seeing at the drive-in, and fun times. I wish they would do more like that at that drive-in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then that was it for 2018.
Sure was.
Going into 2019, the first movie we saw, which was not a horror movie, it actually is Fight Club, which we went with Matt and Stephanie as well. And I just wanted to go see that because I love the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I had never seen it before, and I enjoyed it. Very good film.
And then after that, like a week later, we went and seen The Thing. So they usually do The Thing in the winter.
Yeah. It's become like a traditional thing, I guess.
They didn't do it this year, which is funny.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime that movie comes around, we do go see it because it's The Thing.
Yeah. Then after that, we saw in March 2019 King Kong, 1933. This was another very good experience. I really was into it.
Me too. King Kong, I grew up watching that one, and I hadn't seen it in quite a while, so I was thinking, is this really going to hold up for me, or is it going to be stupid, or what? And that movie stands the test of time. It's just great. There's some actual comedic moments in it that are, pretty good, and I don't know if they're intentionally supposed to be funny or not, but it's just kind of like of the times, it's like funny. But it's actually scary too. King Kong, the way they did that, it looks pretty good and still holds up. So I really enjoyed that experience as well.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. And then, like a week later, they showed Forbidden Planet, which was actually very fun. That was like more of like a sci-fi, like minor horror to it. But yeah, I really enjoyed Forbidden Planet.
And it's the movie that plays in Halloween when the kids are watching the TV.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
Perfect.
yeah, it was a fun movie. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember the robot being really fun.
Mm. But after that, we had Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. Yeah. Lynch. Lots of fun that one was. Man, that movie was weird.
Yeah, I have no idea what that movie was about really, but it was cool. It was weird.
Yep.
But interesting.
And that wrapped up March. But kind of funny, we saw 3 movies that were semi-horror in March.
Yeah, like a borderline.
Yeah, weird month for that. Then in April, we kicked it off with Alien at the waterfront.
Yeah, and that was for what, the 40th anniversary, I suppose?
Yeah, I was very happy to see it though because I figured that's something you have to see in the theater at least once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of find I'm not a huge fan of the film, or the entire franchise really, but the first one is good. Good atmosphere and scary being up in space and all that, but not one of my favorites, I'm not gonna lie.
I love the first one.
Cool. Very cool.
Then we went back to the April Ghouls Day drive-in for the April 26th and 27th 8 movies 2019. We also went back to Indiana for this trip.
We did.
And we had a much better time. We didn't see as much cool stuff, but we at least weren't sick and slept long enough, so that was cool. And we did end up seeing we went and seen Good Boys. Didn't we?
No, we didn't.
Oh, that was the other. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
What the hell did we do then?
We
went to
there
Chinese.
really wasn't much to do. We just
went to Chinese again, but a better one.
Yeah, a
Chinese
much better one that was pretty. They didn't have as much there, but the quality of food you got for the price was pretty good. And then we went to we did the same pretty much crap. We just went to Goodwill. We went to this like comic book store next door to see if they had any horror comics or anything, and they didn't really have much of what we were looking for. And then we ended up going to that pawn shop again up by the mall. It didn't have as much as they had that first year we went, and there was another pawn shop in town we went to. Then we decided to drive back to the place Vandergrift where the drive-in is. And we went to Salvation Army, and I think even maybe Dollar General too while you're there, because there's really not a lot to do around there. But I bought a shelf at Salvation Army that I display my like autographs on now. So that's cool. That's pretty much what we did that day. But so the first night they played Basket Case.
Super fun.
Yeah, first time watch for me, great time. And then Toxic Avenger.
Also fun.
Also very fun. I enjoyed that one. Then Slithis, I'm pretty sure that was boring as all hell, if I remember correctly. Am I right?
Yeah, that one sucked.
Yeah, that one sucked. And then Blood Beach, which wasn't obviously the best either, but that one was definitely a little more entertaining. So
yeah, I feel like we're missing something here. Blood Beach was fun. I really liked Blood Beach. Mm-hmm. I'll bring it up to you later, but I'm pretty sure we're missing something. Um,
You know what it is? Or...
yeah, I think so. So after that, we went to the second night, which was started off by The Fog. And honestly, I didn't enjoy it. Again, I was like, you know what? I don't think I'll ever really love The Fog.
I felt the same way. Like the atmosphere was cool. I remember we were sitting outside and you were like, "You want to get in the car?" Because I was freezing, and I was like, "But the fog." And so that was kind of, that's really the only enjoyment I got out of it was the atmosphere. I always like the beginning part where dude's telling the story to the kids around the fire, but other than that, I just feel like there's not really a ton going on in the film. It's just like a bunch of people are like, "Oh my God, the fog," and then they all meet up, and then it's like, yay, they kill the fog, and that's the end. But yeah, I can't get into that one. And then next was Creepshow. I like that movie. I don't know if it's a long movie, so like seeing it in the drive-in was kind of like that took up a large chunk of the drive-in time, and it wasn't my favorite honestly to see in a drive-in, but I do enjoy the film.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun, honestly. That day was cool because they had that guy walking around like from Father's Day, which was neat.
Yeah. Yeah, they usually have someone like dressed up like a vital character to the movies. Like a few years back when they did Black Christmas, they had a girl sitting in a chair wearing a bag over her face that you could take pictures with inside. So that's always fun. But then Mother's Day, I think I was drifting in and out of sleep during this one, so I don't remember it a whole lot, and it was a first time watch, so I don't really remember it enough.
Yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Mother's Day is a very fun movie to me, so I had fun with that one while you were kind of snoozing.
Yeah.
And then the final film was Burial Ground, which is just an insane movie. I love it though. It really is a fun one. It's the whole little kid and the mom's titty thing is just so ridiculous.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the film too, and I thought I was not going to, but I remember I was awake and well rested after that, so I enjoyed it.
Then May 15th, 2019, we saw Little Shop of Horrors, and I borderline hated it.
Yeah, I cannot stand. This is the one from the 80s. There is an older version that's not a musical, of course, but I can't stand musicals. This one is all musical. It's all goofy. That's what I can't. What?
Rick Moranis.
Yeah, it's just.
Do you not know who Rick Moranis is?
No, that's why I hate when people just say random stuff.
He's the dude from Spaceballs.
Okay, that still doesn't help me, dude. I've seen that movie, but I don't know.
He's the main guy.
I don't
the
remember
guy that's feeding Audrey 2 or whatever to. He's in a bunch of
Spaceballs.
He's a bunch.
Okay, dude.
He's Wayne Selinsky from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, is that who's that? The dad?
Yeah, he's the same guy in every movie.
Okay, I don't
Ghostbusters.
You're naming movies that I've seen, but haven't seen in so long that I can't picture this guy's face. And also, why couldn't you have just let me say yeah and then moved on? Why'd you have to bring up the fact that I clearly didn't know?
Okay.
But yeah, the movie was trash. If you like musicals, I could see why you would like the film. People were going wild in the theater.
Yeah,
they were
it's a
hardcore
classic.
fans.
It's a classic, but I just don't like it.
People were like, Bill Murray, I can't stand him. There was a scene with him that's just cringe, and I don't want to rip it apart because I do know.
That Dennis scene was horrible too.
That's what I'm talking about, the whole.
Oh yeah.
When Bill Murray's the guy that I can't stand that dude. I don't get why people love him, but, yeah, I just hate musicals. I think they're cheesy. I think it's just dumb to sing at random times, and they're always so over the top with the cheesiness that you can't really take the narrative seriously, but. Yeah, moving along now. We have, I believe, the next week we had Pan's Labyrinth.
Yep. May 22nd. Very good movie. Very, very good movie. Guillermo del Toro. I really enjoyed it watching it in the theater.
I can't believe I just said labyrinth.
At least it's not
Labyrinth.
the labyrinth.
It's Pan's Labyrinth. But yeah, another first time watch. I enjoy a lot of these are first time watches for me. I just realized, but so that's kind of cool too. But yeah, I liked it. It was weird, but I liked it.
Yeah,
And
very,
then
very good movie about, the Civil War and stuff like that. I dug it. After that, June 2019, we saw Rear Window, which was awesome. Alfred Hitchcock. There was actually a couple Hitchcocks playing. We only got to two of them. But yeah, that is a fun movie. I love the voyeuristic nature of it.
I liked it. I didn't love it. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite Hitchcock I've seen out of the like two I've seen.
And then June 2019, we saw I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was very fun to see, like, especially since 4th of July was like the next week or two or whatever. Fit perfect, nice 90s flick. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that oddly enough, that's another one that's probably one of my favorite theater experiences. It's another one that had a very poor turnout for, I guess, it's a 90s movie, and I don't know, people just probably weren't interested, but I had a lot of fun with it. That's one that I always loved growing up, so that was a cool one to get to see, for sure.
Yeah, and I actually, I know that the movie has, like, plot holes and stuff like that, but I dug it. I still like it.
Yeah.
Then I drug you to this one because it was, like, heavy nostalgic for me. I actually thought that it, like, was pretty cringy and didn't hold up. Like, I hadn't seen it in probably 15, 20 years or something. But that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah, it was a cringe fest. I can't. That was probably my least.
If you weren't there for it, you just would never get it.
Right, yeah.
But if you grew up with that stuff, like, it makes sense to you. I still thought it was kind of cringy, but yeah. Then, I guess the fourth time for you.
Third? Yeah. Second for you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. I just looked.
Okay, go. What?
Are you sure?
Go look back on the list.
Okay,
You don't think I'm sure?
I guess you're right,
bro.
I could have sworn it was like the fourth time.
No, buddy.
All right, Jaws. Those same guys showed up again dressed as Jaws.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun.
Jaws. Yeah.
That time I could watch it stress free.
Yeah.
And then July also, The Birds. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I ever seen that movie all the way through. And I remember just being like, wow, that was effing dumb. Like, there was some dumb stuff in that movie, but I really liked it. I really liked The Birds, but that whole setup was really silly.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it the most watching it in the theater. I used to think it was I used to have trouble following it really and thought it was kind of slow and boring. Not following it like it made sense to me, but I just always thought it was slow kind of, and I had trouble really paying attention to it. But seeing it this time, I enjoyed it. I know what you mean. It's like, it's one of those movies that clearly makes women seem like fragile morons and just very of the times and Hitchcock-esque, I guess. But I don't know. I like The Birds. It's like definitely one, next to Psycho is most horror film. Some of the effects don't really hold up and all that, but I enjoy it. I can look past the issues.
Yeah. So after that, we saw in August King Kong vs. Godzilla. I had fun with it. I know you didn't like it too much.
No. Pretty silly.
And that was at the waterfront. And then after that, we went on an adventure like 5 hours away.
Yeah.
For Camp Blood 5.
Yes, and this was essentially another drive-in that does something like what the Riverside or yeah, April Goals one does, where they put on events, but this one actually only focuses on retro movies. It's a drive-in, another one-screen drive-in that only plays old stuff. So they have other events throughout,
Hmm.
the entire year, which is pretty cool. But it's called the Mahoning Drive-In, and it is basically getting pretty close to like New Jersey territory. There's
Yeah.
actual signs on the way there for New Jersey. So it was a hike, I will say. It was pretty easy to get to, though. We were pretty nervous. It was our first big adventure, I
Hmm.
guess, away from home. And you had to drive down through Maryland to get there, which was interesting. And
Yeah, the one
but
thing that is awesome about this theater is the setup. Everything is so nice and cool and better than the Riverside, but the food side of things is severely lacking at this place. It's very basic and very bland food.
yeah, it's like there's pros and cons to both places. Like this one was decked out in like Friday the 13th stuff on the inside. It was bigger. They actually have VHS tapes that you could buy on this giant shelf, and that was all pretty cool. I didn't like, they actually have porta potties, and the drive-in we typically go to has bathrooms that they have open. It looked like they had bathrooms at this place, but they might have kept them closed because there were so many people. I don't know, but so I didn't like that aspect about it because I have to pee a lot, and
Well,
after a while
for
it gets
me
pretty gross.
personally, the porta potties were cleaner than the bathroom at the Riverside usually is, so
Yeah, you always say
I
that,
didn't
and I
mind
don't.
them so much.
I just imagine. I can't imagine. I remember the first time we went to that Riverside one, I did not pee the entire night miraculously because you scared me so bad about the bathrooms. But the women's room is actually fine.
That's crazy.
I know.
So yeah, this was a night. This was pretty cool. So it was prom night, which was a lot of fun. Not. I don't really like prom night that much.
I was wondering if you were just like talking out your butthole there for a second, 'cause
No,
that was
it's
not
a
fun.
joke because I don't really like prom night that much.
I don't either. It's pretty lame.
But the second feature was Friday the 13th Part 3, and that was awesome.
I agree. Yes.
And then Motel Hell, which basically I had to suffer through again.
Yeah. Out of driving again.
Yeah.
And I once again didn't really pay as much attention. I probably paid more attention to it this time around, but I still just could not get into it.
Yeah. Only 3 films makes it the night like fly. It's weird. It
Hmm.
feels so much shorter. Then we went back to the hotel. What did we do in the area? Oh, that's where we
Um,
went and seen Good Boys the next day.
yeah, there was at a pretty nice theater. It looked like it was just built yesterday. It was really nice. The design was just very modern and very colorful theater. Movie, not so much. That movie pretty much sucked, but it was cool to get to, kill some time and go see a movie. And I think that's all we had time to do. So we did that. I think we might have went, oh no, we went to that mall as well.
Hmm.
That Leeton Mall, Valley Mall, which malls nowadays you never know if they're going to be trash or not. And this one was actually a pretty poppin' mall. It was pretty crowded, so that was cool to get to explore a little bit. So then we went back to the Tribity Drive-In that night, and this was cool. The films. There was an actress at the drive-in who played in what was supposed to be starred in rather, 3 of the featured films, but one of them got cut. The stepfather was supposed to be, the original stepfather was supposed to be the first film, and it was really funny because they started playing the stepfather remake, and we were all like, is this a joke? Like, I thought it was just to be funny or something, and then JP was like, well, I'm going to go get a drink while we wait since I don't want to watch this movie. And then they cut the movie off in the middle and we're like, so they sent us the wrong film. We're sorry, everybody. We're just going to skip to the next one because this movie's a piece of shit. So that was funny.
Yeah.
And the first movie ended
I
up being
kind of wish
popcorn.
they would have just played Stepfather, honestly, but I get why they didn't. Jill Sheldon was there, and it was like for her, so it didn't make sense.
Yeah. So yeah, they played Popcorn and Jill Schoelen. Like he said, was there that night, and I thought that was pretty cool. She was like the star of the films, and she wasn't just like character number 99 in the background. She was actually like the main person. They got her to come to this. She still looks the same too, which was funny. We got a picture with her. We also bought Cutting Class on the Vincent Blu-ray and got that autographed, and she was super nice and cool, and that was awesome. Popcorn was the first time watch for me. That was pretty cool film, I thought.
I enjoyed I've seen Popcorn before, but I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Then after that, they actually played Cutting Class. That one was weird, I will say. The whole plot was kind of weird, but I enjoyed it too. It was goofy at times, but interesting. Yeah. Brad Pitt, one of Brad Pitt's first films ever, so before he was famous, and that was pretty intriguing. And then the movie of the hour, of course, was Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, I loved watching that. I was a little bummed that it wasn't the unrated version, but I don't think that exists on 35 millimeter. Mm-hmm. So that sucks, but I really like Jason Goes to Hell, so that was a blast for me.
Yeah.
All right.
For you.
And then I think it was like the very next week or like a week after that or something. We went to a convention in Gettysburg, and they did some like film screening / Q&A type things. And this is the only time we've ever seen a movie with a live commentary in the theater. And that was Frankenhooker with a commentary by Mr. Frank Henenlotter, and the actor from the movie. It was very fun. One of that's probably my fourth favorite theatrical experience.
Yeah, I probably have to agree. I'd never seen the film before, but it was a fun movie, and Henenlotter and that dude, I forget what the actor's name is, but they actually did a really good job with commentating over it, and they added some comedy elements to it, so and interesting facts and stuff. So yeah, that was a great time. I would love to do something like that again for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a blast. I hope next year for their convention they do more stuff like that, because that's where I had the most fun at that convention.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, the convention was funny. It was fun. There was that was a good experience. Good time.
It was great. Yeah, one of my favorite memories of the year.
Then we went back to the Riverside Drive-In for a 4-film extravaganza, their September show. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember much about any of these films. I think we talked through most of them, and we didn't even go back for the second night. I really wasn't feeling good the next day. But that's Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, Dracula's Great Love, The Vampire Night Orgy, and The Dracula Saga.
Yeah, we legit were on our phones talking like in the same group chat that we're in, the good old Fresh Cuts chat. Shout out to them. We were pretty much chatting the entire night, and then we ended up driving home and like going on Skype with them too, which was funny on the ride home. But that's kind of my memories of that night, not the movies at all. And then one of the films, I believe it was like the third one, kept cutting out.
Yeah.
Or burning up, like the film looked like it was burning up and they kept trying to replay it. But yeah, the most forgettable experience there, but whatever. We try to go every year anyway.
Yep.
And then in September, we went on to see the Wolfman, because, they're doing some werewolfy type films. And the Wolfman I've seen before, and I like that one. That's probably one of the best, I would say, Universal monster films, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. That was, I love whoever gets bitten by a werewolf. I love that part.
Oh, that was the night that you had to punk that guy behind us in line, I remember.
Oh, yeah. I did have to punk a guy. He was talking that shiz.
Yeah, sometimes we punk guys.
Yeah, so they were doing werewolf themes. We only ended up going to 2 of them, but the next one was An American Werewolf in London. And to me, I didn't ever love this film, but watching it in the theater, I definitely appreciated it way more. I really liked the gore aspect to it, and actually, I was like surprised. I totally forgot how like raw the ending was.
Mm. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I like the beginning portions. I feel like the best where you just got those two guys and they're hiking and
Oh yeah,
they
super
get the whole
creepy.
scene. Yeah, I almost wish there was some more of that, but as a whole, I actually enjoyed the film. I always thought the title just sounded really stupid, so I always kind of avoided it, but I enjoyed it. Good, great werewolf transformation, and yeah.
hmm and then after that, we got a film that I personally got put into the theater here for the AMC Classic movie nights in October, and I brought to the attention that this film was the 20th anniversary, so they should play it, and that is The Blair Witch Project. And that was on my bucket list of films that I wanted to see in the theater, since I was old enough to see it at the time that it came out originally, but I didn't get to see it.
hmm Yeah, and this is probably up there as one of my favorite experiences too. I thought it was a great film to
Yep, probably
see on
fifth
the
for
big
me.
screen. Yeah, very, very eerie. Makes it just all the more eerie. Especially, I just love, the credits roll at the end, and it's just like, bam, that's the end.
hmm
Like, no sound or anything, and you just walk out. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yep, and then I think like the next week or the week after, they did Saw for October. And yeah, I mean, I really like Saw. I think it's a great movie. I enjoyed seeing it in the theater since I never got to when it came out. It felt good.
Yeah, Saw movies aren't my favorite, but I do like the first Saw, so I enjoyed it. I think it's a depressing film. That's kind of why I don't really run to that franchise in general, but I like it. Solid movie.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then after that, we got to go October 14th to see The Devil's Rejects, because it was playing with the Three from Hell. So that was really awesome. That's one of my favorite movies ever. Seeing that was a great experience.
I agree. Devil's Rejects, give that one a 10 out of 10. Watching it before Three from Hell probably, in a way wasn't good for Three from Hell because it shows how awesome Devil's Rejects is, but Three from Hell wasn't as bad as I expected, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun.
Everybody in there was like true fans of it too, so that was good.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, or around, I think it was around the week after that, we had October as well, House of Wax, and they showed it in 3D, which this is probably the next favorite theatrical experience for me.
Yeah, it was dope. That movie is great. I feel like it's probably one of the best horror films I've seen from, a long, when like the 50s or something.
Yep.
And it was actually cool. Like, I feel like it was overlooked, but a woman in the theater raised her hand and said she was in the theater opening night whenever the movie actually came out way back in the day. And I thought that was neat that she was now here watching it as like a retro film. But great film, great on the horror elements for sure.
Yeah, I loved it. And seeing it in 3D was so cool because when do you get a chance to do that?
Yeah.
And then the final film we watched last year or this year. So that was the final film we watched in 2019, and then Misery was the final film we watched in period. So that's
2020.
97 total retro movies.
Sure is.
That was a long discussion. But there was one thing that I feel like we missed. Unless I'm just tripping. But wasn't there a movie called like Horror at the Beach Party or something that we seen in the drive-in?
Oh, dude, when you brought that up, when you said that like earlier on the list, it's been bothering me this whole time that you said that because I'm like, what was it? But yeah, it was that. Trying to think. Obviously, it was the September drive-in horror. Yeah, it was that horrible one where that band is like playing on a stage like the whole time, and Yeah, I remember it now, but I forget which drive-in it was at. It might have been that first September one we went to, actually.
No, because unless we went 2 nights, then we might
Oh,
be
well,
missing
wait.
some moves.
Oh, no, there's no way in hell we went 2 nights for that. Hmm. Wait, wait, I'm scrolling back down through here. Uh, no, are you sure it wasn't the 2016 one? Because we only saw three of the Oh, yeah, you're right. We went home that time, so it couldn't have been that one. You're right. Huh. Huh.
So that is where we're stuck at. What was that movie
Are you
called?
It was, I think it's like Horror at Party Beach or Horror at, trying to look it up. I mean, we only saw three movies at the September 2018 one. Horror at, yeah, it's called Horror at Party Beach, and I remember, yeah, actually, this is one that I actually have memories of too, which is weird, because I'm looking at the monster, and it was kind of like, it was like a ripoff of Creature from the Black Lagoon, in a sense.
Yeah.
And it was featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000. But I don't remember when we saw it. September.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now, but
Hmm.
I cannot find it. Oh, dude,
What?
I found it.
Where? I mean,
Um,
when was it?
so this is where. Oh, okay. That's why.
Why?
No, that's not why. Nope, that's not it either.
Hold on, hold on. Slow your roll.
I cannot find it for the life of me.
Maybe we just made it up. No. Wait. No, it's not. Hmm. Oh, uh, no, wait, hold on. Yeah, it was, the night we saw The Tingler, Monsters Go Home, and then The Horror at Party Beach was the third feature.
Really?
That's what, yeah, I found the event. What do we have here? Attack of the, we did go both nights, but we only saw two movies on each of the nights because we saw Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and Creature from the Black Lagoon were back to back on the second night, and the first night was Monsters Go Home, or the first night was The Tingler, Monsters Go Home, and Horror at Party Beach. So we saw three movies on the first night,
Oh.
and then the final one for that night would have been
Did we not say
Adam.
for it that the Terror Beyond Space?
No, I don't believe we did. I think you wanted to maybe, but we like kind of I think we were falling asleep
Okay,
like a lot
so
that night.
we have 98 movies, technically.
Yeah, that's right, guys.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so that's it. This is like a 3-hour podcast.
I know, we 22 shots it.
I know. So, I'm my throat is actually hurting from talking, which is weird.
I know, I'm
but-
like worn out.
Yeah, but we will see you guys next week with The Turning. I hope you guys enjoyed our trip down memory lane. I actually had fun reliving some of this stuff because I had forgot about certain details, which is nice to sort of put it all in perspective. And I'm very happy to continue on with doing this. February, we will have another 2 films, which would bring us to 100. So that's pretty cool. I think Invisible Man will be our 100th one. So I'm really excited about that. But you have anything else to say before we get out of here?
Not really, just, yeah, to add to that, I mean, I think I have a fantastic memory, and then going through this stuff makes me realize, like, wow, there's movies on this list I don't even remember anything that happened that day. So it's pretty intriguing, but, yeah, that's about it, guys. We will see you next week with The Turning.